Did you see it for the first time in April?
Yes, ma'am.
And it had a for sale sign?
It did.
You paid him how much?
$8,000.
And I assume that you're a businessman and that you did your due diligence and that $8,000 was an appropriate Sea-Doo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was it a good price? Stop playing with your papers.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it a good price?
Yes, it was.
How good?
It was great, being that we had a lot of accessories on it. We had the wake tower, nice sound system, you know, all the extras.
When you looked up its value, and I'm sure you looked it up, what did it say its value was?
Well, the value on the boat is approximately $7,000.
So why did you pay him $8,000?
Because of the different accessories on it.
Now, before you purchased it in April, did you have him put it in the water?
No.
Did you have a mechanic look at it?
No, we did start it, though.
So you neither test drove it in the water. Now, you bought it in April from Ferguson?
Yes.
And you do his landscaping?
I do.
Do you still do his landscaping?
Yes, I do.
When did you first put the boat in the water?
I didn't.
Ever?
No. No, ma'am.
Why?
Well, because I couldn't get it started.
So you tried to put it in the water?
No, I tried to start it prior to putting it in the water.
After you already purchased it?
Yes, ma'am.
What month did you try to start it?
I tried to start it right after, probably actually in May.
So you brought it home in a trailer, some
Yes,
sort
it
of
has
trailer.
a boat trailer.
And then you tried to start it and you couldn't.
That's right.
Did you call Mr. Ferguson? Tell Mr. Ferguson you couldn't start it?
Yes.
Did you ask him for your money back?
No.
Then why did you call him?
Well, because I wanted to see what might be the problem. He did indicate that it did have a leaky crankcase in that.
Just a second. Did he tell you that before you bought it?
Yes.
And that didn't give you any cause to pause before you bought it?
Not at all.
A leaky crankcase. Mm-hmm. Do you know what you do to fix a leaky crankcase?
Yes.
What do you do?
In most cases on this design, you have to rebuild the engine.
So let me understand this, Mr. McCluskey. You paid $8,000 for a Sea-Doo that was worth $7,000 because of its accessories, that you rebuild the motor because it had a leaky crankcase that you had already been advised of before you bought it.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I actually could not get it started. Ferguson came over to my house. We tried to crank it over, and it has two engines, by the way. The number one engine wasn't starting. Number two is fine. So typically in this case, the engine had a bypass on it, which meant that there was a separate mechanic other than Mr. Fountain over here that actually put a bypass so it would stop the oil from leaking from the crankcase, which in turn you have to take the spark plug out, then put a rag over it.
Just a second. Mm-hmm. Tried with Mr. Ferguson there and another mechanic.
No, Mr. Ferguson, the owner, the previous owner.
Mr. Ferguson came to try to doctor up, because he probably likes the way you landscape, to try to doctor up this machine that you paid a lot of money for and that was useless to you, and it didn't work.
That's correct.
So what did you do next? Did you ever ask Mr. Ferguson for your money back?
No.
I'm just curious. Is that because he's a customer of yours and you've been working for them, and over the course of years, you're going to get your money back from Mr. Ferguson?
Of course.
Landscaping, what, maintain his business.
Yes.
See how the story is piecing itself together?
Uh-huh.
So then, what did you do? You still couldn't operate the Sea-Doo for its intended purpose. Where does Mr. Fountain come in?
Well, I happened to notice a new boat shop that opened down the street. And so I contacted Mr. Fountain to come out and take a look at the boat, see if he could fix it.
And?
And he was nice enough to come out and pick up the boat, and that's where the story begins.
Because you see, Mr. McCluskey, what I have to do is figure out who is trying to scam who. So I'm going to ask you, sir, whether this is your signature on this answer that you swore to.
Yes.
I would like you to read the first line after it says, Judy McCluskey, being duly sworn, deposes and says, I do not owe the plaintiff any money. Read that line.
I do not owe the plaintiff, Roger Fountain, any money.
Read the next line.
All right, I was a new boat owner at the time. I called Roger, and I was only looking for an oil change. That is
Period.
All.
I was a new boat owner at the time, and I was only looking for an oil change. That is all that was needed to fix my boat, and I made that clear to Roger before he picked it up. Well, that's not true, Miss. Please. That's clearly not true. You couldn't get the Sea-Doo started. The owner of it came over. He tried a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you still couldn't get it started, so you couldn't use it. So your boat just didn't need an oil change. Your boat needed to be fixed.
The oil
now,
needed.
just a second. Hey, one way or another, this is going to be a very simple case for me, because one or the other of you is not telling me the truth. And I read both of these things, and right now, you lied in your first line that you said to me, All my boat needed was an oil change, which is exactly why I came to you first, sir. Usually
Right.
I start with the plaintiff. Now, my next question to you is, after what happened with the boat and your kerfuffle, this was in 2015. How many times did you use the Sea-Doo last summer?
Probably 4 or 5 times.
Between the time Mr. Fountain worked on the Sea-Doo and the summer, I want the name and telephone number of the person who worked on the Sea-Doo.
Okay.
What's the name and number of the person who did repairs on the Sea-Doo?
It's my friend, Daryl.
Why didn't you call your friend first? Mr. McCluskey, if you have a friend who can fix a Sea-Doo, why didn't I'm going? You know exactly where I'm going, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Fountain fixed your boat.
No, he didn't.
And you didn't pay. Oh, really?
No, he didn't.
Show me a bill from somebody else who fixed a paid bill from you. Mr. McCluskey, a paid bill from you that's in your stack of somebody between the time Mr. Fountain worked on your boat and you put it in the water.
I can't.
This summer. You can't.
No.
You need some more time?
No.
You need some more time? Okay, because you don't have it. Okay. The money that he says you owe him for fixing your boat, which is not a lot of money, actually.
No.
Which is not a lot of $800?
Yes,
right? I
yes,
mean, it's a
Your
lot of money, but it's 1/10 of the value that you paid for the boat, and you couldn't use it. And you were going to make up your money from the guy who sold you this boat that didn't start by jacking up his price to do landscaping. You said, I'm not going to ask for his money back because he pays me more than $8,000 a year to do his landscaping, so I'm not going to cut off my nose and lose a customer. How much was the bill to fix his boat?
Your Honor, it was $879.40.
Now, what I gather happened, Mr. Fountain, is pick up the boat. The boat was fixed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Came to pick it up, and there was a kerfuffle because as he was following you, according to him, the boat cover was flapping, and he was following you, and he pulled you over. He said, my boat cover is ripped. One way or another, the police became involved because you said, I'm not giving him his boat until he pays me.
Correct.
And he said, I'm not paying you. I'm not paying you. I didn't authorize this. All I authorized was an oil change. Baloney.
No, ma'am.
Oh, it's absolute baloney. You bought a non-functioning Sea-Doo to him.
I knew exactly what was wrong.
Because somebody snookered you, and then you tell me that you have a friend who fixed it, but no bill from your friend who fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you owe him $879.40, and your counterclaim's dismissed. Miss McDonald, this is your sister, and it is your claim she owes you some money. Money that she put on a credit card that you allowed her to use, that she said she would repay. As soon as she got a job, she's got a job, she hasn't paid you back. That's what the case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you support yourself?
I was working full-time at Citibank, and I was actually laid off.
When?
I was laid off in June.
June of this year?
Of 2016. I enrolled back into school, and I am working part-time for a cleaning company now.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
And how old are you?
I'm 25.
And how do you support yourself?
I did not.
I didn't ask you that question. I want you to use your listening ears. How do you support yourself?
My name's Jordan. I work for
What?
I work for Tri-Health. I am currently living with my mom right now.
That's not what Miss McDonald. I got that your sister is 25 years old. She lost her job at Citibank in June. What she does to support herself is she works for a cleaning company part-time. Am I correct?
Yes.
I asked you how you supported yourself.
I work part-time with Tri-Health.
Part-time with Tri-Health. What do you do for them?
I register patients in the ER.
How many hours a week do you work?
It varies. I work probably about 20 paid bi-weekly, so about 50 hours pay period.
Does your mother work?
Yes, she works full-time.
And how old is she?
She is 54.
And how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, so we have a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old who work part-time, and we have their mother, who's 54, who works full-time. Sounds right. Sounds like the direction.
Your DUI.
Now, when did you get a DUI?
Back in February 2016. It was February 21st, the day before my birthday.
And your sister gave you a credit card in order to put you had to pay legal fees?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And when she gave you the credit card, did it have a zero balance? Well, she has the records. So when you had this conversation with her about your need to hire a lawyer and to get this case going, did she tell you it had a zero balance?
That's what she told me, yes.
And you took it?
As
the credit
a gift.
card?
As a gift.
Just a sec. Just answer my questions. You took it, correct?
Yep, I sure did.
So I assume you believed her when she said it had a zero balance.
I did.
Well, if someone is making you a gift, why would that be an important thing for her to tell you that it had a zero balance? If she was making you a gift of this credit card, what difference does it make if it had a zero balance or if she already had $10,000 on it? Can you think of a reason she might say, now it has a zero balance, so whatever you put on the card is going to be your responsibility when you get a job?
Well, as my sister,
You assume you could trust her.
I assume
That's what
so.
she assumed. She assumed she could trust you. And at the time, your sister and your mother were living with you.
Yes.
Then you had an argument. And the argument was about a car that your sister had borrowed that belonged to you?
Yes.
That she damaged.
Correct.
When was that?
This was late July of 2016.
How did you damage the car?
I was putting gas into it, and I drove it back to the house, and next thing I know it, she's blaming me for damages, and I did not wreck the car at all.
You were putting gas in it for whom?
Because I borrowed the car from her.
Where did you take it?
My check,
And
stopped at the gas station to put gas back into the car, and I went straight home.
what happened with the car? She
I
wouldn't
let-
know the truth if it came up and slapped her in the face.
I let her borrow the car to make some errands. She went to the gas station up the street from her house to put gas in for what she used. She was watching my backup camera that I have on my dashboard, and she wasn't watching the front end of the car, and she hit either a rail or a pole by the gas station that protects the gas pumps.
And there was a scratch on the car or something.
It was dented, the whole side of it, the fender.
Now,
was
when she
damaged.
came home from putting gas in the car, what did she say to you?
She did a paint kit that she purchased from Walmart to try to patch up.
Oh, so she went to try to fix the car
Yes,
and try to match the paint
correct.
at
When she-
Walmart.
Yes.
You remember that?
I did not.
Too much booze.
A little bit too much.
When she walked in, I asked her what this was. I texted her first and said, "Where are you? You've been gone for a while." She says, "I have a surprise for you." That was my surprise. Was my car.
So then you had a fight, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, and that's why how much did she use on your credit card?
She used a total of $2,105.49 is what I'm
May I
currently
see?
doing her.
May I see it, please? Joel is the lawyer that you used?
Yes, Your Honor.
And there are some miscellaneous charges that I allowed her to charge on the account to help her get by when she was in between jobs.
What's PNC Bank?
There, ma'am, I had to take a cash advance to pay off a title loan that she took against her car. I had to pay it in cash or cashier's check.
A title loan she took against her car?
Yes, at that time she did have a car. She was having some issues before her DUI, so she took a loan to help herself out. You know, she didn't tell it myself.
Do you remember taking out a car loan for it?
She did.
Successful in dealing with your DUI?
Yes, I no longer have a DUI on my record.
Did you plead guilty to the DUI?
No.
So it was a good thing that your sister gave you this card and you had Mr. It was a good thing, right? Do you still have a car?
No, no longer.
What happened to the car that you had that she paid off the title loan on?
I no longer drive at that time, so I went ahead and canceled my insurance, and I no longer decided to go ahead and get rid of the car, and I take the bus to and from work.
Ma'am. She got caught driving under suspension.
What?
She got caught driving under suspension. They impounded the car. I was going to help her get it out, and I decided not to.
You don't have to deal with her. Let your mother deal with her.
Yes.
$2,105.49.
I have evidence right here that shows that it was a gift. I didn't get the
$2,105.49.
That's case number 42 on the calendar, the matter of Morgan versus Favier Humphrey.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Morgan, you and the two defendants were friends, and based upon your complaint, what I gather is you decided to take a vacation together to Costa Rica.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
Last summer, maybe July, August.
And when was the trip planned?
December the 10th through December the 18th.
Had you been away with the defendants before?
No, we have not.
So this was you planning the trip.
I was doing all the planning.
So far, correct?
Correct.
Tell me what the financial arrangements you made were.
At first, it was just Sonis to go with me, with my free air miles. Then I went home, and we had met up with Maureen, and we were out together, and we invited Maureen, but I didn't have enough mileage for her, so that was going to cost them additional to buy the extra points. They both agreed to pay for that, which they did, $110 each.
Okay.
Then we started to... Then we started to plan the trip, and I told them we do not really need to make reservations in Costa Rica because I've been there before, and you can just go as you go. You can find the places. But they were uncomfortable with that. But I had to have flexibility when we went to our 3 different locations.
So let's deal with the plane fare was all taken care of.
Yes.
Everything took care of,
Yes.
so no plane fare.
Yes.
Okay, so you were planning some hotel stays.
I did, yes.
You were there a total of 8 days?
9 days, 9 nights.
Okay. When you went away, how many nights did you have reservations?
With a 7, since I booked those additional 2 a couple days before we left.
Okay, and the agreement was what? How were you supposed to share the expenses for the hotel?
1/3 to each of us for the hotel fee cost.
And now I want you to tell me what expenses you believe they have not covered.
They owe me for the nights at the hotel, a 1/3, which is...
Or together?
That would be each.
$396.
Yes.
Tell me where you were in those nights so that the ladies will know and be able to follow you.
Okay, the first night we flew into San Jose, that was paid for in advance in August. The second night and third night, we drove to a beach town called Manuel Antonio. Those were paid for. The third night there was not paid for.
Okay, and who paid for that?
I did.
Did they reimburse you?
No, they did not.
Okay, let's start with the third night. That's where we are. Third night. Did you reimburse him for the third night?
I didn't stay in the room.
I don't care whether you stayed in the room or not. You met a guy and you stayed with him. It doesn't matter whether you stayed in the room or not. You were traveling together, and the whole idea was to split everything 3 ways.
Okay.
So if you did stay in the room?
I did stay in the room, but here's the thing, is that we each got our own room at the first place. And he ended up...
Forget...
But this is what it all comes down to, is the fact that we didn't trust him, and he was overcharging us. Like, he charged us for his room, and then when I look up prices...
All I wanted to know is, right now we're on the third night, which you did not pay for. And how much was that night? This is going to be a fascinating case.
That night was... That was at the Falls. That was $163, plus they charged me another $25 to keep the same room. Instead of, because we didn't have that reservations, instead of change rooms, $25 extra, you can have the same room.
How much was the room for that night?
$25 charge to keep the same room.
$62 each. What's next?
The next was the night that...
Let's go. Come on. Let's go. The next night was?
The next night was nights 5, 6, 7. It was in the volcano area, Hotel Los Lagos.
Okay. Did you all stay there?
I got my own room.
Well, I don't
And we
care.
had originally paid for 3 nights, so it was an extra night, but I ended up actually spending $527 in getting my own room, so I never even stayed with them.
Well, I don't care whether you stayed with them or not. If the agreement was, if the agreement was you would share rooms for the nights that you were away, whether you opted to get your own room is irrelevant.
That he's trying to say.
Fine.
But when she did get her own room, his was more, and he's like, because it charges per person. So we went to complain, they're like, we don't charge per person.
Because actually mine was cheaper getting it there than him.
Then next time, don't let him book
Exactly.
the rooms.
That's why we
Next
don't
time-
trust him.
Next time, don't let him.
That's
because
why we don't trust him.
Listen to me. But he will have backup because I will ask him to see exactly what he paid for those rooms. So in that room, for that night, how much was that room on the 7th night?
$207.91.
And my 3 nights was $527. So how is that possible that one night's $207?
That's
my
what
3
it is.
nights is $527?
Can you show her the documentation for that room?
Okay.
What's the next? So now we have 2 more nights, 8 and 9. Were they booked?
I'm showing you the 3 nights that was $527.
I don't care. I don't care.
The other 2 nights were...
Oh, okay.
Got it? Good. $69 each. What's next? The other 2 nights were booked and paid for, correct?
Yes.
Good. What else do you think they owe you for?
We rented a car, and I told them before I left, and I had the agreement, it's going to be 1/3. Well, the rental company charged me, Thrifty Rental charges you like $157 for a drop-off fee because we're going to 2 different airports. $157, and I know that there's going to be additional charges, gas, and they're going to charge us for car insurance.
All I want to know is what the entire bill was that you can show them for the car.
The bill was for car insurance and
No. Turn that piece of paper around and show it to me, what you have. May I see that? Okay. They charged him $507.71 for the car.
No.
For insurance.
For insurance. We had originally paid for the rental with the check and we paid for the room.
Here's the original charge
We already
for the
paid
car,
for the car.
which was $157.
Okay. 7 plus that. We originally
you paid for the car.
We already paid for the car.
Your Honor.
So he is actually suggesting that the car insurance was $575 after we got there.
No.
We actually looked at the prices for the same nights, same rental car for full insurance, and it comes out like $475 for the week plus the insurance. So how did we pay $800 for a car?
Your Honor, I've rented a car in Costa Rica twice before.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
They paid the car. They paid for the car. What else? What's next?
They have not paid for.
What's next?
They have not paid
What's
for that
next?
507. Okay, so we meet a young man on the second day we were there, and Asanas chooses to stay with him and not in our. We left that area. She said he wants to go with us. Both Maureen and I both agreed, okay, he can come with us, but it's still 1/3. And I said, I'm not going to charge him 1/4 for the car. So he did come with us, but I said, we're going to end up 5 hours bus ride away from home. It's your responsibility getting back. And she agreed, yes, it'd be my responsibility. So we get to our last location on the 9th day, 45 minutes from the beach, and she deserts him. And he has no money, nothing. So
what does that have to do with you?
Exactly.
I text them and said, how's Luis getting home? It was your agreement to get him home. And she said, it's not her responsibility. He's my responsibility. But I took him to the airport for...
Responsible for anything with regard to a guy she ditched if you decided to help him.
Right.
Exactly.
What's
so
next?
I paid $104. Well, anyway, the long story short, I paid $104 to fly him back home.
Good guy. Okay, what's next?
That's it.
The gas for the car.
Okay.
Show me.
Here's the gas bills. I have 3 of them, $49, $48, and right at $10 gas
Okay,
bills.
may I see them, please? Okay, so we have one that's $10, another that's $50. So the one that was 10 was probably a top-off before you left. 50,
Yes, it was.
60. Okay, what else?
I have a receipt for $25 baggage check-in at LAX for Saunas.
Did he pay a baggage check-in for you?
He chose to do it.
What does that mean?
When we were checking our bags in, he said it would be free with his mileage. Then he said he had to pay for it.
Was it for your bag?
Yeah, but he said it would be free.
So what? It wasn't free.
Exactly. Nothing was
baggage
free.
Just a second, it wasn't free. So who should pay for your bag?
No, that's
You're
fine.
a big girl. How old are you?
I never said I wouldn't.
Okay, great. What else?
Can I just mention about the falls, the $25 to stay in the room? I never even heard that before. The $25 to actually stay in the same room, but when we left...
The $25, I told you they're charging us $25 to retain the same room. So, because we were going to be out and about, they said we'd have to do it around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, yeah, we'll just stay. And the next room is going to be smaller with 1 bed instead of 2 queen beds.
Great.
Well,
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $459. We're finished. Harden.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to lay out the story of this case because it's too complex to get it from you folks because there are really some limited issues. This is your daughter. She's 17.
Yes, ma'am.
She was pregnant and she already has a child at 17. You became homeless. You were having financial difficulties and you needed some place for your 17-year-old daughter and her 1-year-old daughter to live. I assume you knew Miss Allen from the past.
Yes, ma'am.
And you asked Miss Allen if she could take your daughter, whose name is Ashley?
Yes, ma'am.
Ashley and her baby into the house. And Miss Allen agreed. That was in February of this year. And you agreed to give Miss Ashley $200 a month and some food stamps to take care of Ashley and her daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what the case is about.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Ashley and her daughter, in February and in the month of March.
Yes, ma'am.
But on March 31st, Ashley was leaving the house. You were leaving the house to go where?
To drop my daughter off to her godmother.
Okay, so you had a car.
Yes, I had my mom's car.
So you were borrowing your mother's car?
Yes, because she was out of town.
And you were taking your daughter to your godmother's house. Why?
Because she usually come get her every weekend.
And what do you do?
During the weekend?
Yeah, if the godmother comes to take your 1-year-old, what are you doing on the weekend?
Most of the time, just relaxing, getting a break or something.
All right, so you were going to take your daughter to the godmother's house so you could have some free time outside, I assume in the car seat, and you realized you left your keys in the house.
No, that's not how it went.
Well, how did it go that you had to break the door?
I was packing my bags outside of the house, and my friend Bajan had my daughter in her arms, and I had to unlock the door. I chirped the door, and I set the keys down back in the house while I was packing all the bags to the car. And as I packed the bags to the car, she was following me behind.
Listen, I don't care about all that. You left your keys in the house.
Yes, and she
just that's all. You left your keys in the house.
Okay.
This isn't a volume. This is a short story.
Okay.
Your daughter was out the house and the door was locked. Mm-hmm. So you got some sort of an implement and jimmied open the door in order to get your keys. Mm-hmm. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Great. That's what it says here happened. And you got your keys and you left. Miss Allen comes home from work.
Yes, ma'am.
And finds her front door jimmied open. So she does what every normal person would do, when they find their front door jimmied open, you call the police.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Because you thought your house had been burglarized.
Yes, ma'am.
Because Miss Lovejoy didn't leave you a note.
No, ma'am.
Say, I'm sorry, I did this to the door. You know, I know the door looks peculiar, but the police they're punching around, and somebody tells you, I think it was Ashley who was opening the door.
Yes, ma'am.
You would have had it up to here. You called her mother. You say, come and get her, or I'm putting her out.
No.
Well,
ma'am.
you say you got a call. You were someplace. Maybe I read it wrong. The end of March, I was attending a funeral.
Yes.
When my cell phone had no reception. Once I got to the back area with service, I received an angry call from Reba saying Ashley had ruined her door and she was kicking her out. That's what you wrote in your complaint.
Okay.
That's what you wrote here.
Yes, ma'am. I know the first call came from Ashley.
I don't care who the first call from. So that's
and Your
where we
Honor,
are.
I mean, talk to her.
I don't care. So you're suing her for hotel costs because your daughter had to go to a hotel.
Yes, ma'am.
That's ridiculous. And you say that she is withholding your mail.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any mail that belongs to
The
Ashley?
only mail, when Ashley
Just-
moved
that's
in,
it, just a
yes,
second.
ma'am.
That's either
I
a
have
yes.
mail right here.
Okay. Would you hand it to Officer Bird, please? Bird, can I take a look at that?
Sure.
Is that the only mail that has come for her?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, this is an automatic, whatever it is. Okay.
Thank you.
Now we're done with you.
This is not it.
Now, money owed for a broken door. Can I see the picture of the door?
Yes, ma'am, you can. These are the pictures that I've taken when I got home and I discovered that my door was broken like that.
Okay. You see, this is your problem with the door. If she were 18, she'd pay for the door. But she's not. She's 17.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time she did this to the door, she's a minor, and she was under your control. You agreed to take her in. So her mother wouldn't be responsible. And I can't hold her responsible because she's a minor.
Right.
In order to hold her mother responsible, control of her. But at the time the door was broken, you were in control of her.
But at the time, like you stated, she's a minor. So I'm technically not able to sue a minor. So therefore, in order for my door to get repaired, I have to sue the mother.
No, you're not following what I'm saying. Minor under your control. Let's say she didn't break your door.
Okay.
Let's say she was in your house and broke your television.
Okay.
And you agreed to take her in as a minor to be watchful over her. You think
At the time, no, because she's not there.
she wasn't there when she broke the door either. Do you understand? You were responsible for her. Let's take it a step further. You agreed to take care of her. She was under your control for 2 months, this minor. Let's say the minor did something and hurt your neighbor's property. Do you know who they would sue?
Me, because that's my house.
You. And she was living in your house under your control. So as much as I mean, if she were working, but she doesn't work, she has a 1-year-old. She has a lot of leisure time because somebody watches the 1-year-old. She's expecting another. When?
No, I already had my baby.
You had your baby already?
Yes.
And where does that baby live?
With me.
And who do you live with?
Bajan.
Who is she?
Who is she? She's Bajan. She's a friend of mine.
What does she do?
For a living? I'm not sure.
Great. All right, I'm finished with
It's case number 146 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus McKinney.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Your last name is Williams?
Yes, yes.
You are her,
Dad, her father.
and the car is in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't present that day?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Okay, so I don't actually need you standing up next to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the boyfriend? Okay, Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you to stand up next to Miss Williams. This used to be your girlfriend,
Yes.
and you have 2 children together,
Yes.
and you are her.
Father.
You're no longer a couple. How old are the children that you have together?
My son, he's 5 years old, and my daughter, she's 4 years old.
Did you and Miss McKinney ever live together?
Yes.
Until when?
Until, I would say, 2016, like earlier that year, just for like a month.
You lived together for a month, or you lived together?
Yes, just lived together for a month in 2016.
Your Honor, that's
Yes.
not true. He was staying with me for like months at a time, off and on.
Off and on
He also
is
stayed at the house.
off and on is sort of ridiculous.
As well, he was staying with my family, with me and my parents before I was in my own residence. So he was there like for about
Not like.
6.
He wasn't there like anything.
He was there for 6 months.
And then?
And then we moved to my residence, and he was there with me for a year and a half. And then
full time?
Full time, ma'am.
Full time. From when to when?
I moved back from Lafayette, Indiana in June of 2015.
Just a second. You went to Indiana from where?
I was living with my family and up until like June.
Not my family.
I was living with my family from June of 2014, and then I moved to Lafayette, Indiana.
Who lives in Lafayette, Indiana?
I had my own residence there.
And where was he living?
He moved with me.
To Indiana?
Yes, from my
Is that right?
No, that is not true. I resided as well in my own apartment in West Lafayette.
Ma'am, that's not true.
You had your own apartment there?
Yes, in West Lafayette.
Why would you move to Lafayette?
I actually went to Ivy Tech Community College in Lafayette, Indiana.
So you went to school there?
Yes.
Why did you
Ma'am,
move?
can I was pregnant with our first child, our son, Jeffrey Jr., and I got a place out there.
Well, I mean, why did you move?
I moved because I wanted to get my own place and get out of my parents' house.
How far was it from your parents' house to Lafayette, Indiana?
It was an hour-and-a-half drive.
Well, that's a long... Getting your own place is one thing. Getting your own place because you're going because he's going to school there is something else.
Ma'am, that's not true. He was not physically going to Ivy Tech in Lafayette, Indiana. He was going online, doing online courses.
Just a second. So why did you move to Lafayette, Indiana is my question.
I moved to Lafayette, Indiana to get a start, to get on my own feet and get out of my parents' house. I became an assistant teacher at a daycare center.
For how long did you work there?
I was there for a year up until I moved back this way to come closer to my family in June of 2015.
Well, then, while you were there in Indiana, you had a second child.
Right, that's where our daughter was conceived.
Just a second. So you had a second child?
Yes, Janila.
And then you wanted to move back to your family?
Yeah, I wanted to be closer to have support.
Did you move back with her to where? Is your family?
To my parents' residence.
To what?
Maryville.
Where?
To Maryville, Indiana, I'm sorry.
Did you move back?
No.
You stayed in Lafayette?
Yes.
That is not true, Your Honor.
I don't want you to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
Did you stay into her parents?
Months later, I moved in with her for like a month, and then I returned back.
Months later, you moved from where to where?
From Lafayette, Indiana to Maryville, Indiana.
So you moved back to Maryville.
Yes.
So you were sort of moving along with her and your two children. Don't try to think of where I'm going. You'll never be smart enough. Actually.
Oh, no, I'm not thinking that at all. I'm not thinking that at all.
So just try to be honest. Don't think about what you told her. Don't think about what you told her father. Don't think about anything else. Just tell me the truth to my question. So Maryville, was she your girlfriend then?
No.
When did she become your girlfriend? Month and year?
Month and year.
And say it without a like.
She became my girlfriend September 2016.
That would be shortly after you moved back.
Yes.
And when she became your girlfriend, tell me where you met her.
Where I met her?
Yes, where... Don't repeat my question. Where did you meet her? That's English.
I met her with her brother.
Where?
At a school.
What school?
Me and her brother went to Indiana State University together.
Her brother and I went to Indiana State University together.
Yes.
That's what you meant to say?
Yes.
So you met her, remember, when you started school there?
Well, I met her years prior to that, but around that time when we became together.
You met her years prior. In what year prior?
2013. January 2013.
Where did you meet her in January of 2013?
In her home.
Was that because you were friends with her brother?
Yes.
And how old are you now?
I'm 22 years old, Your Honor.
So you were a kid then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were 17. And how old are you?
27.
Okay. But then you sort of reconnected in 2016.
Yes.
Who were you living with in September of 2016?
I was at
Kinney, in September of 2016, where were you living?
I was living where I stay now in Maryville, Indiana, at my own residence.
And where was he living in September of 2016?
Your Honor,
I know who I am. Where was he living?
He
was living with you, or he wasn't living with you?
He was there at a point, and then he went back to his mom's house. He's been back and forth over the years, so it's not really a set time.
Miss McKinney, Miss McKinney.
I'm sorry.
Where was he living in September of 2016? At your house or his mother's house? That's a question that requires, don't remember, just say I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Good. So you were living at your mother's house when you met her?
Yes.
And then you became a couple?
Yes.
Now, this is what this case is about.
Your Honor?
What?
Not to interrupt you, but me and Jeffrey have had a
Jeffrey and?
Oh, Jeffrey and I have had an ongoing relationship since 2013, that year.
Well, Miss Williams, that would be foolish of you, because since 2013, he's made 2 children with the defendant. And Jeffrey's very fast. I mean, he goes to college here, he goes to online school, then he goes to Indiana State University. You don't want to tell me that you would have had an ongoing on and off relationship with him since 2013, because he and the defendant were clearly involved in a relationship that you should have known about.
Yes, but when we met, they were not together.
In
2013.
I don't want to hear from you. In 2013?
Yes, when we first met in January of 2013. He had a son already, the first child.
But the second one wasn't born yet.
Right, but she was not pregnant in January of 2013.
That make it even worse.
Is your daughter a little bit stupid?
I think so.
And he's not a prize.
No.
You don't have to shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
You had an altercation recently. You're no longer together. You and this gentleman and Jeffrey are no longer together, and you haven't been together in a long time. Correct. You have 2 children. This incident happened on what date?
It was in October of 2016.
And so what are you doing here almost 2 years later?
I went to Purdue West Lafayette University. I'm a pre-med student. I ran track and field. I came home, actually.
I want to know where you've been for 2 years. If what you're alleging is there was an accident.
Yes.
Just a second. It wasn't really an accident. It was on purpose. You were picking up Jeffrey. You were in your car that your father owns, and the defendant rear-ended your car. Now, her insurance paid for that, right?
Correct.
Because you rear-ended her car. You say, I was excited. I saw her, and then I saw him, and she was picking him up from school, and whatever. I was excited, and I went to go this way, and I put my foot on the gas, and I hit the accelerator, and I accidentally rear-ended her. But your car was fixed by her insurance 2 years ago. You claim at the same time, during the same incident, Miss McKinney kicked your car.
Yes, the driver's side door.
Your Honor, that's not true.
You want to say something to her?
Don't interrupt the judge.
Perfect. Now, it is possible that the insurance company, while they paid for the fact that your car was rear-ended by her, said that if there was damage on the report to the driver's side door, said, well, that was a criminal act of vandalism, and we're not going to cover her criminal act of vandalism, so we're not going to pay for that. That's possible. But my question is to sue her.
Well, I'm a student. I have a lot of things going on, and she also had a pending case in reference to this case in terms of her the restitution and so a few details.
Just a second.
Yes.
You had a pending criminal case for vandalism? Is my question for something? You had a pending criminal. Did you have a pending criminal case?
I don't know. Like, I had a case prior to that.
Did you go to court about this incident that happened in October of 2016?
No.
No.
What were you in court about?
Well, this particular case for the accident, it did cause probationary period for 6 months.
Miss McKinney, I'm getting frustrated with you. I don't know about your father. 38 years?
At least.
I know about the court system. Were you arrested for this incident? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Did you plead guilty to resolve that case? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Were you found guilty? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
What did they put you on probation for?
It was for criminal recklessness, Your Honor.
Criminal recklessness involving what date?
October 24th, 2000.
That's this case.
Yes.
They don't put you on probation unless you're found guilty.
Well, it was an incident, Your Honor. And at the time...
That's in the penal law. You're either found guilty or you plead guilty in order to resolve it, and you're placed on probation with restitution.
Well, it was an accident.
You're not placed on probation for an accident. Courts don't place people on probation for an accident. They may suspend your driver's license. They may say you're on a probationary period for your driver's license. You're not placed on probation by a court unless you plead guilty or found guilty. Probation is a disposition of the court, like jail. You get either jail or probation. Probation sometimes is coupled with restitution. Were you ordered to pay restitution? That's either a yes or a no.
It was $120, Your Honor.
Did you pay it?
Yes.
Show the paper.
I have the,
Show me proof that you
yes.
paid the restitution.
And the bottom one. And the bottom one.
And I have, as well, to add with that, Your Honor, I have the records to show that I don't have any pending criminal.
I don't care whether you have any pending criminal, whatever. You're not ordered to pay restitution and placed on probation unless you either plead guilty or are found guilty. This wasn't restitution. This was court costs.
That was for that case, Your Honor.
It was court costs. It's not restitution. Criminal recklessness. And this was a plea. You pled guilty to criminal recklessness. Plea agreement. That's what that says. Plea agreement. You signed it.
Well, I'm
confused. I'm not confused. Your father's not confused. You signed it. The judge signed it. You pled guilty.
Well, in my understanding, I was saying I wasn't guilty to intentionally causing the accident.
Miss McKinney, then you're very, very confused. And your father will talk to you later because I don't have time to give you You had a lawyer?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
of course you did. You spoke to your lawyer. Judge allocated you, told you that you had the right to have a trial. They would have to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. You took a plea. You paid $120 in court costs, and you were released on bond, and you got 6 months deferred sentence on proof of insurance. Her insurance paid for the damage to the back of your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see the pictures of the car door.
The top of it, the dent.
Let me see the police report, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Williams, you didn't tell the police that she kicked the driver's side of your door. You said she hit the window and was yelling as she hit the window, "Get out of the car," and then she called you a name. You didn't tell the police that she damaged the door. I'm reading the narrative.
Yes, but I didn't actually tell the police in a sense that all the damage that happened to the back of my vehicle either, you know?
Then it's within a 2-year period. This is the freshest time in your mind.
Yes.
Immediately after the incident, you carefully described exactly what she did. She rammed the back of your car twice. Yes. You said to the police she hit the glass part of your door and yelled at you to get out of the car. She called you a name. Never once in your narrative. And there was no damage to the window, so why would you say she told me to get out of the car and then she kicked the car door, causing damage to my car door? That should be in here. That's why you bring a case immediately. Do you see your children, sir? It's not an answer.
No.
You don't. Is there a reason that you don't see your children?
Me and my lawyers are in progress.
My lawyer and I are in.
My lawyer and I are in progress.
You still going to Indiana State University?
I go to North Park University in Chicago.
Take English. A couple of English courses.
Yeah.
You're 27 years old?
Yes.
Do you work?
I'm a college student working to make a living.
So my next question to you is, how much support do you pay for your children?
None.
None.
Did I hear anything from you?
Sorry, Judge.
Who's supposed to support your children?
Me and my lawyers are in progress just due to the...
Take English.
I am in progress of doing that to make sure.
I am in the process of...
I am in the process of doing that right now.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
They have to be supported.
Yes.
You don't want your girlfriend to support... What?
I graduated in December to make sure of that.
Well, it's a good thing that they weren't on meat hooks, you know, in some freezer between the time you decided to graduate from college and now, without at least contributing to their support. If you make children, you have to...
Any type of way to pay Fantasia, but she was not reasonable in any type of way.
Well, Miss McKinney is angry. She better get unangry. You made 2 children with him. It's not their fault that it didn't work out. You made one and he didn't marry you, so you made another one. Not smart. And if now your father has the burden of supporting your 2 children, are you living with him?
No, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
I live on my own.
And how do you support your children?
By working.
Who takes care of them?
Myself alone.
Well, how can you take care of them when you're working?
They go to daycare, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
An assistant teacher at a daycare.
The children go to the same daycare?
Yes.
I got it.
It's case number 555 on the calendar in the matter of Smith Billings versus Gibson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
You're Miss Smith.
Yes.
And this is your husband?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
7 months.
Was this a joint home that you bought?
No, ma'am. It was a home that he had purchased before we got married.
How long have you owned the home, Mr. Billings?
15 years.
So you were getting married and wanted a little remodel?
Right.
How did you find Mr. Gibson?
Contractors, and we found him.
How did you find him?
We was referred from Donnie.
From where?
A gentleman named Donnie that we met, and he was going to do the work initially, do some low-bearing walls for us, but he hurt his back, so he referred Kyle that will be able to do the job for us.
Where did you get Donnie from?
Donnie was introduced to me by a lady at the bank that I bank at.
When Donnie introduced you to Mr. Gibson, did you get any references from him?
Yes, ma'am, I did. He sent me pictures. And
did you speak to anybody that he had done work for?
No, ma'am, I did not speak to anyone he done work for before.
Which is always a good idea before you give somebody
thousands of dollars.
Yes, ma'am, I have learned
my lesson.
Because who knows what pictures are. In what city and state do you live?
Old Hickory.
Written contract with Mr. Gibson?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at it. Who wrote this out?
Kyle.
You wrote this out?
Correct, ma'am.
Did you all go to Dolores Moore?
No, that's the witness.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Did you try to mediate this matter?
Yes, I talked to Kyle, and
yeah.
Your Honor, we did speak in the original as far as the agreement for the contract and everything, but as far as after we had issues with the contract, I never heard from Mrs.
It only says that parties agree first to try to resolve the dispute with the help of Dolores Moore. That would be you.
Yes.
That's what okay. This is a very loose contract. You're suing him for breach of contract. He's suing you for money that are owed under the terms of the contract.
Yes, ma'am.
He did start to work. He started to work on or about December 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Contract says that he's supposed to start the work on or about December 1st and be finished on or about the 1st of January.
Yes, ma'am.
Substantially completed, Your Honor. Yeah.
I read what it says. It's,
Sorry, yes.
it's not a time of the essence clause in here. It says substantially completed,
Correct.
and there's also place in here for other eventualities. So what are you complaining about?
As of January 2nd, it was not completed.
It doesn't have to be completed.
Nothing was completed. We didn't have a place to live.
It doesn't have to be completed. It doesn't have to be completed according to this contract. It has to be substantially completed. And if time is of the essence in a contract, you have to put that in the contract, that time is of the essence. This doesn't say it will be completed. It said it'll be substantially completed, and that's a vague term.
Yes, ma'am.
What that means. Listen, I don't know what you're here for. You have no particular expertise, except that they both agreed to let you try to mediate it before it came to me, and that didn't why you're sitting there. Do you have photographs for me from December 31st or January 1st? First of all, I have to tell you, with all this work that he outlined here, how much did you pay him in total?
$4,000 as of January 1st.
And that's what he received, $4,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he receive 4 or 3?
$4,000.
Yes.
Your Honor, she canceled a $1,000 money order on me and
Just
advanced
a second. With that, did you receive $4,000 or $3,000?
a total of $4,000.
That's all I wanted to know. You received a total of $4,000 on a total price of $7,500. No, that's what this says. First of all, that's a bargain for all this work.
Yes, ma'am.
This was a bargain, as you found out, because you had the work finished.
Yes, ma'am.
For $14,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So now I'd like to see, come on, let's see what it looked like.
These are how the house was as of January 2nd. We also have a video, Your Honor, as of January 2nd.
It's very hard to tell you what he did and what he didn't do. It looks as if he did a lot of work.
I can show you the befores.
Just a second. It looks as if he did a lot of work.
No, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if he did half of the work or 3/4 of the work, but it certainly looks like there was a lot of work done here. It certainly was not completed. So I'm going to go through just some of the stuff, because it's very hard to tell from these photographs.
Sure.
Did you frame the master baths?
I did.
Did you build a walk-in shower?
I did.
Did you install a vanity?
I did not.
Did you install a mirror?
No.
Did you do the sheetrock?
Yes.
Did you paint?
Partially.
That's just in the master bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Did you install flooring?
Tile in the master, yes.
Tile in the master bath?
Yes, and also the flooring in the walk-in shower, and the actually took the old hardwood out of the old closet and patched up the places that there was no flooring in there as well, and put it all back together as well.
Did you exhaust the master bath?
I did, with a Bluetooth wireless ventilation system.
Did you refinish the hardwood floors in the hall?
No, that was part of the master bath. The floors were ready to be preprered for the sander.
Okay, but you didn't do them.
The reason being, Your Honor, is because I was waiting on a payment from them.
I don't care what the reason is. Sheetrock flooring in the bath.
Yes.
In the bedroom, did you install windows?
No, the window that they asked me to replace was supposed to be a replacement. It did not fit.
Just a second.
Okay.
Sheetrock.
Yes, ma'am.
Flooring.
No, ma'am.
Remove load-bearing wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Paint.
No, ma'am. We were waiting on some other things to process.
So in the great room, you didn't do the flooring?
Correct.
Kitchen. Did you open the wall for the bar?
No. We did remove sheetrock and relocated electrical, but other than that,
Build an island.
No, ma'am. That was supposed to be cabinets. Sorry.
It's supposed to be install cabinets.
No, ma'am.
Sheetrock.
Yes.
Electrical outlets.
Yes.
Living room. Floors.
No, ma'am.
Paint front door.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you did about half of the things on this.
It's that as well that I have here.
Unfortunately, you didn't reduce the additional in a writing and have everybody sign off on it.
Your Honor, what happened was...
Don't tell me what happened.
Okay.
This is your contract. You prepared it. If it's going to be modified, the responsibility is yours to get it signed, just like a contract.
Correct.
Because there is a provision in the contract that you prepared. And in the law, the person who prepares the contract, if it's brought to before a judge, that contract is viewed more stringently against the person who drafted the contract. So you have provision here in your contract that in the event that the work is done and that as you are ongoing, if there are additions or wants you to do, that may affect the time and hours, et cetera. But then you have to do what you did here.
Well, I tried to explain that to them, Your Honor, and they kept complaining that they were maxed out on their budget. I don't know how they afforded the $14,000 later, but...
Listen to me. Did you understand what I said?
I heard you, ma'am, yes.
Perfect. So you did about half the job.
Ooh.
And you got paid $4,000. $4,000?
I got paid $3,000 because I owe Advance Financial $1,000 because they revoked the check, which is illegal in the state of Tennessee.
Just a second. Then we're not following each other. When I asked you, did you actually receive, sir, $4,000?
Paper or cash? I mean, what I'm not understanding is, yes, I received a piece of paper for $4,000, but that piece of paper that they gave me on the 4th was revoked on me.
So, which means that you really only received in your hand $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he only receive $3,000? Did you revoke a money order?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So
on
then
the
you,
2nd
just a
of January.
second, then you didn't pay him $4,000. You only paid him $3,000. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then why did you tell me you paid him $4,000?
Because I initially paid him $4,000. When he did not come back and he did not answer my calls, I called my bank and I asked my bank, and they said it was.
Don't tell me what your bank said.
Okay.
Don't tell the difference between paying him $4,000 and $3,000. So you did about half the work, and you should have been paid $4,000. We should have been paid at least $3,500 for doing half the work. I actually think that $4,000 is probably reasonable. You're not getting any money back.
Okay.
And I'm awarding you $1,000 on your counterclaim.
Your Honor,
that's it. We're done.
Your Honor, we have a video.
Listen, I don't want to watch your video. He did a substantial amount of work over the course of a month. You misunderstood when you read the contract and it said it should be substantially completed. You should have checked with a lawyer. Lawyer, don't speak. Lawyer would have said if you wanted to have, they are never, ever done on time. You wanted yours to be miraculously done on time. You should have written in here, time is of the essence and must be completed by December 31st or the 1st of January. I'm done with you. I resent the fact that I said, how much did you pay him? And you said $4,000. And it turns out that you only paid him $3,000. That's a hustle.
Can I show you the text
counterclaim
message
for
he sent me?
$1,000. We are done. Pinkston, the defendant was your roommate, and it is your claim that you gave her rent for your share of the rent for 1 month for February of this year. The defendant kept the rent, did not pay the landlord, and as a result of that, you weren't given back your security deposit.
Correct.
Or all of your security deposit. Landlord kept money. I'm not exact this because she acknowledges that you gave her your rent for February, so we're going to find out.
Right.
How long were you and Miss Ward roommates?
For almost a year.
Where in Wisconsin?
Beloit.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes, we signed it, I believe, in November of 15. And then we renewed our lease in December of 16. And then about a month after we renewed it, that's when she called and said she's going to move in with this boyfriend she dated for a month.
She called you?
Yes.
She didn't tell you in person?
Not in person. She was taking a little vacation at his house in Wisconsin.
In December or January?
Well, after I moved out.
Oh, before you moved out?
Oh, before I moved out.
How long were you there visiting in January?
A few days.
Do you work?
Yes.
For whom?
For Milestone, Inc. in Rockford, Illinois.
You still have the same boyfriend?
No. We have split our ways.
Okay. Fine. So it was 2 days well spent?
Yes.
Anyway, did you ever move in with him?
Yes, I did.
And that was in February?
Yes.
And you had a lease with Miss Pinkston?
Yes, but our lease was up.
When was it up?
It was up in February 11th. That was when the new lease was going to kick in. But our old one was up.
Did you sign a new lease, is the question?
Yes.
Lease for 12 months?
Yes.
And you signed the new lease for 12 months in December of last year?
Yes. Late December, early January.
So you still, in February, you still had 10 months to go on the lease?
The old one was up. We had signed a new one to stay there, but it had not kicked in yet. Our old lease was up, so we could move out if we wanted to.
Can I see the lease?
I have a one-bedroom lease that I signed.
I want you to show me the original lease.
This is the lease we had signed for the 2-bedroom.
The lease ended February 11th of 2000. You had signed a renewal for this lease?
Prior to that.
So you had signed a renewal?
Yes.
Now, when did you, just so I get the facts, when did you advise Miss Pinkston that you were moving in with your boyfriend?
A few weeks before I had moved out.
Give me the date.
I want to say like the last week of January. I don't remember.
When you told her that you were moving out, did she give you her share of the rent before or afterwards?
Before.
Okay. And so she gave you her share of the rent, according to you, on January 25th.
I can't remember.
For February.
For February, yes.
And her share of the rent was how much?
$310.
Because you would come back from your 2-day visit with the boyfriend? You already knew that you were moving out in February. You already knew you were moving?
I was moving out, but I didn't know what day I was moving.
But you knew you were moving out in February?
Yes, but I don't know what day exactly.
I don't care if you knew what day, but you knew you were moving out in February. Did you tell, when the plaintiff gave you her half of February's rent, did you say to her, don't give me your half of February's rent because I'm moving out?
Well, see, I asked her some gas money so I can put gas in my car.
Don't give me the baloney you gave me in the end. Did you say to her, don't give me your rent money? Why not?
Because this was before I had known I was moving out. She had given me the rent money before she knew I was moving out.
That's not true. I just asked you a whole bunch of questions because you had already, when you took her rent money, had spent a couple of days with the boyfriend in the boyfriend's apartment, which means that you had discussed with him moving in with him in February. So you knew that you were going to move out. You can't double speak to me. You said, I knew I was moving out, but I didn't know what date. I said, the question was simple. Did you tell her when you took her $310 that your intention was to break a lease?
No.
Why? Why?
Because our lease was up. So our lease, we would not broken our lease because our lease was up.
Why did you take her $310? You didn't give the money to the landlord.
She gave for gas, and she gave me her whole entire half of her rent. She didn't have to do that, but she did.
Is that the best answer I'm going to get from you? Is that the best answer I'm going to get from you?
That's the answer, yes.
Yeah, that's the best answer I'm going to get. Then I'm not going to go back anymore. I don't need... Okay. As a result of that, they took money out of your security deposit. So you get your $310 back because it's clear she never gave that to the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Or did she give her money to the landlord? Because your lease wasn't up until the 17th of February. How much money did they deduct from your security deposit?
I remember the check was $207 we got back. I think we paid around $670 or...
What's around?
The rent was $670 a month.
They took out $463 for what?
For cleanings. I have the paper here for what they took out.
I'd like to see it, please. No, you left the house in wonderful condition. They charged you $100 to clean the carpet. Period. To your credit. And is there any reason why you didn't pay the landlord on February 1st?
Because I moved out. There was no reason for me to...
You didn't move out February 1st?
No, but I moved out a couple days after that.
Well, you didn't move out February 1st, so is there any reason... And your lease wasn't up until the 17th. So is there any reason why you didn't pay the landlord? No.
No.
Okay, good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount that you're requesting, $800.
Case number 307 on the calendar in the matter of Bonenkamp versus Bonenkamp.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mrs. Bonenkamp, this is your former husband. You have 6 children, 6 boys?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm accounting for a tree service business.
How long have you worked for them?
8 years.
What is your annual income?
It's like $28,000.
You get child support from the defendant?
Yes, I do, when he pays.
How long have you been divorced?
April. Been apart for more than that, but finalized in April.
How many years were you married?
17.
When you and your husband separated with their bank accounts?
Yes, we had a bank account together.
How did you divide those bank accounts?
I got everything.
And what was in the bank accounts?
I got $8,000.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I do tree trimming, tree cutting and stuff during the day, run tow truck at night.
Okay. Now, you claim that your former husband owes you some money for debts incurred subsequent to the divorce.
Yes.
First alleged debt.
He had been arrested twice for driving under suspension. False. I knew that he did have a license. I knew it was wrong. I knew the state was wrong in doing so. Well, I had gotten all the savings when he got arrested. So when my son came to me and said, this is our son, Logan. Mm-hmm. He came to me and said, can you bond Dad out? Dad says, if you bond him out, he promises he'll pay when he gets his $10,000 check in July for cutting his trees. I said, only if he'll pay me back. And he's like, yes, he will. Mm-hmm. So we went down there. I bonded him out. He came out, and he's like, thank you. I promise I'll pay you.
Did you promise you would pay her back?
At that time, I might have said, I'll pay you back when I can. I don't remember saying I promised.
He said he would.
Back when I can.
Okay, and how much was the bail?
$1,000.
Did you get any part of it back?
No.
Can I see that? And you had to put up $1,000 in cash?
Yes.
What was that to pay the fines?
No, it was, they just required $1,000.
That was to bond me out because if I go to jail, then she knows I don't.
No, don't tell me what she knows. I'm not interested in what she knows. Show me where you paid the bond.
I had to give him the money to bond himself out.
But this is the ticket.
Mm-hmm. He actually was still in the car when we came up on the scene, yeah. He was still...
Oh, well, I don't believe this.
My son was with us.
I don't care. What you're trying to tell me is you give a police officer cash to let you go.
Yes.
Take it back.
That's what he did.
Yeah. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Me neither. Keep going.
Okay. On May 14th, my son Logan came over to the house. Kevin had called him. He had gotten hurt at work, asked me to come down there. He had no insurance. He needed pain meds. He needed help with his medical bill, so I took Logan down there. He said that at that time, if I paid the medical bill, that he would reimburse me in July when he got his tree check. for $10,000.
She got her savings account so she can pay for it.
No, the savings account has nothing to do with that. Anyway, he promised that he would pay me back. He subsequently sat there and kept promising. He didn't give me any money. He waited until then, and he kept the money, but gave me $1,200, and that was it, out of that money.
Gave you $1,200 out of what money?
Out of his tree money that he kept promising me for. He kept saying, I promise I will pay you back.
How much were his medical bills?
$2,834.
And he gave you back
$1,230, to be exact.
So he owes you for his medical bills, if I believe that there was a contract to reimburse you for the medical bills, $1,600.
Yep, if you want to take it off of there.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a wrestling club that he asked me if I would give him the money for a wrestling club. Who
asked you?
Kevin asked me, I have an email, and he had asked me a couple days before that about the wrestling club. He asked me if I would please front him the money for Blaine, our son. He had Blaine ask me if I would front him the money for Blaine's wrestling club. Well, Mom's got all the savings from the divorce. I don't have anything.
She didn't have any money.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that I find that are reasonable and certain things that I find that are unreasonable. It's clear to me that your family lives very close to the vest, that the only savings there were, you got. I'm not interested in why. It's really not important. But at that point, he had no funds. And you said initially no when one of your children wanted to join a race. You knew he didn't have the funds. That's clear. You knew he didn't have the funds. You actually did have the funds.
Yes.
Because you had the savings account. So you did have the funds if you felt as if that was an important project. But you knew your husband didn't have the money. So?
Because I knew he was getting that money.
Did he get the money?
Yes. He gave me $1,200 back. I mean, we had been at divorce for I assumed divorce for 2 years before that because, you know, it was finalized in April, but we had been apart a long time. He had borrowed money before and paid it back to me. So this is the first time he's ever, and if you read the email, he'd play games this whole time. Come to me and say, oh, Mom,
listen to me. Don't get your kids involved.
He did. He got him involved. You did that.
No, your boys are bigger boys.
He's 8, the littlest one that was in the wrestling club. So he had him come and ask me, well, I want to send you to it, but Mom won't. And Mom's the one who's got the money now. It's our money, and she's got it. Mom won't do it. So he sits there and plays that game. And I'm getting money in July, and I'll pay her back, but she still won't do it.
Did you say that to your son?
She's the one.
Speak! Did you say that to your son?
I told him that I would send him, yes. And then when I came, I didn't have the money yet. I told her, you know, that I don't have the money for it. Then she started playing games with him, started making him, your dad's fault, you can't go, and stuff like that.
Why did you say that you would pay for wrestling camp or part of it?
Yeah, I said I would, when I get some money,
Well, did you get the money?
I got some of it, yes.
How much did you get?
I can't remember what the check was. It was a substantial amount.
If it was a substantial amount, and you're making a big deal about $8,000 that she got in savings, which is not, in the course of a lifetime, a huge deal, how much was your check?
My check was probably up around $5,000.
What do you mean up around $5,000? What does that mean?
I don't remember the exact amount. I cashed a check, and it was.
When did you get the check?
First part of July.
And you gave her $1,200.
Yes.
Okay, so that covered part of your medical bill. Did you pay any part of your own medical bill?
No.
Okay, so you still owe her $1,600 from your medical bill. And according to you, you did in fact tell her that you would take care of the wrestling camp.
Yeah.
And how much was the wrestling camp?
I think it was up around $1,500.
Were you supposed to pay for the whole thing or for half of it?
She wanted me to pay for the whole thing, and
okay.
I told her.
Not she wanted you. Did you say you would pay for wrestling camp?
Yeah, I said I'd pay for wrestling camp.
Okay, so far you owe her $3,100.
But she got her savings.
Listen to the house.
5.
How many people live with you?
None.
How many children does she feed?
5.
How many children does she clothe?
5. But I give her child support every week.
You give her $350 a week. Do you want me to figure out what that comes to?
But I did support 6 kids. He graduated in May.
Graduated
I was supporting
from?
him. High school.
What are you doing now?
I do woodwork with business that my dad does it through, too.
Stand up. You work with your father?
No, he works through Edge Street Service. I work with different people.
We subcontract Kevin out because of me. I got him that job for that $10,000.
Well, then all you have to do is show me where he got $10,000.
I got him the work, but...
Well, they may not have paid him for the work.
They did. I was with him when he cashed the check.
And how much was the check?
He got the check for, it was about $5,000.
That's what he said.
He got paid twice, though.
Just a second. Well, I don't know that, but I know he owes you $3,100. That's what he owes you. He owes you $1,600 for the remainder of his medical bills, and he owes you $1,500 because he said he'd pay for camp, and he didn't pay for camp. Mr. O'Reilly, you claim that the defendant assaulted you when you were playing soccer.
Yes.
You were both playing soccer at the same time on opposing teams, I assume?
Yes.
Had you played together before? Had you played opposite each other before?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No,
that's correct.
So you didn't know each other from before?
No.
No. Okay. When was this game?
November 17th, 2009.
Tell me your version of the entirely different version of the events. He says that he was merely defending himself. So go. I know absolutely nothing about soccer except that the ball, I believe, is black and white.
Well, we were playing a game, and
black and white.
black and white. Mr. Mujica committed a foul against me, which the referee called. And after the foul, he got a...
Explain what the foul was.
Well, he just tripped me. He tripped me, I fell down, and when I get up, he was already in my face.
So he tripped you?
Yes.
And a foul was called against him for tripping you?
Correct.
So far, is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
Was a foul called against you?
No, that's not correct.
Interesting. Go
up in my face, and because he got up in my face, I didn't back down. The referee gave us both yellow cards.
But he got in your face.
Yes.
You know, don't gloss over your participation.
Okay.
He got in your face and said what?
The words, he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He just started talking trash.
And what did you say to him?
I didn't say anything. I was just standing there. I didn't know what he was so mad about. It was just a foul, and the referee called it. I didn't call it.
Well, you said I didn't back down, so that would suggest to me that you either said or did something when he said, what are you doing, what are you doing?
No, I just stood there. I stared at him. I was shocked that he was so mad at me after a foul, so.
Go ahead.
All right, then the referee came over. He gave us both yellow cards, told us to go to the benches.
What's a yellow card?
If something's happening, he thinks an altercation is going to happen. He just says, give us...
No, not usually. A yellow card means that you had to stop playing.
Yes, because the foul.
So what you're telling me is that the referee who called a foul on him did so properly because he tripped you.
Yes.
But then gave you a yellow card improperly because you weren't doing anything.
Well, he just wanted to make...
Just a second. That's what you're selling. I just want to know that's what you're selling. That you got a yellow card for doing nothing, and he got a foul called against him and a yellow card. That's what we're buying.
Well, the yellow cards were just to make sure it's a recreational game, that there's no altercations. Usually if two people
well,
get
you
into
can
it...
get it. Don't tell me what usually. To somebody else. You can understand that the referee would come over and say, not only am I calling a foul, but I don't like the way you're conducting yourself. You take a yellow card, Mr. Mojica, go down. You can't play anymore. But why would he punish you? You didn't do anything. All you did was trip.
He just wanted to make sure that nothing happened.
Nothing would happen if Mr. Mojica wasn't playing.
But he just wanted to give us both time to cool off because he thought I was mad. I really wasn't that mad. I didn't even know why he was so mad at me, but...
Keep going.
Okay. Anyways, on the way back, he was still talking to me. After I was on my...
What was he saying?
He was saying, you don't do anything, you don't do anything, you're not going to do anything. And he was just talking to me, and I just kind of smiled, laughed it off. And then after I walked by, he came up from behind me, and he punched me in my jaw. And then he went after another one of my teammates. Pumper said he's calling the game, he's calling the cops, and all of his team, except for 2 members, fled the scene.
Did he flee?
Yes, he did.
The 2 members of Mr. Mojica's team that stayed, did they speak to the police?
No, they did not.
What did they do?
They actually stayed in the remainder of my team, and those 2 actually, they scrimmaged afterwards.
How many people fled with Mr. Mojica?
I would guess around 8.
You have a police report?
Yes. Here. There we go. Hold on.
Did you get a warrant for Mr. Mojica?
No, a warrant was not issued for him. Not sure about that. They said he was not in the system, so the city prosecutor could not prosecute him. Though I thought he should have been. I didn't understand that either.
Where did you get his contact information?
Actually, the soccer center gave me his contact information.
Okay, tell me what your injuries were, Mr. O'Reilly.
I have the x-rays and the medical statements. It was a broken jaw right here. They had to wire it shut for 6 weeks. And here's the x-rays and the medical statements and the medical report. So those are all right there. And as a teacher, you know, having your jaw wired shut, obviously not very advantageous, trying to yell at kids in the back of the room for talking out of turn or just trying to speak.
It's all right, Mr. O'Reilly. I don't need any editorializing about a warrant. All right, Mr. Mojica, I'm ready to hear you.
Your Honor, it was November 17th of 2009. The game was at approximately 11:20 that night because we got the last game. Me and Trevor were playing on the opposite teams. I was on the defense side of my team, and I had the ball. And we were playing, like, Trevor was playing too aggressive, so we were, like, bumping shoulders. And that's, the referee called the foul on him because it was still our ball. And so he falls. I don't know how he falls. I did not trip him. He falls behind me. When he falls behind me, he kicks me on the back of the leg. And I got mad, so I turned around and I kicked him also.
Well, you didn't see how he kicked you on the back of... You didn't see how he kicked you?
No, I did not.
Go ahead.
So he falls. I kick him also.
So then you kicked him purposely?
Yes, I did.
Where did you kick him purposely?
On the legs.
How many times?
1 time.
Go ahead.
I kicked him on the leg, so he gets up, and we're in each other's face, cursing at each other. The ref gives us a yellow card. The yellow card means you're out for like 2 minutes. So we go out, and we're still cursing at each other. He says something to me. I don't recall what he said, so I turn around, get in his face, and he pushes me, so I push him back. And that's when he punched me on the chest, and I punched him in the jaw. and I don't know what his other friend's name was. He was on his team, and he punches me in the back. And my girlfriend, she was on the sideline. She was watching the soccer game. She yells at me because we had our kids there. She's like, "Let's go," because I don't want.
You caused some serious injury when you punched him in the face.
Yes, I understand.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was just defending myself because he punched me.
No, you weren't.
Well, he punched me first. What?
No, you kicked him first. Kicked him first. You didn't see how it happened. He was on the ground.
Yes, he was.
That his foot hit yours. Could have been he was getting up. You have no idea what that was, but you have a bad temper. And what happened with your bad temper was you turned around and with all your might, according to you, because you weren't going to give him a tap on the leg, you kicked him purposely. That's what you just told me.
Yes, I kicked him. Yes, I did.
And I don't believe he punched you in the chest.
Yes, he did.
I believe he probably pushed you, and you were pushing at each other.
Yes.
And cursing at each other.
Yes.
But you
correct.
punched him.
Yes, I did.
Different story. You're going to take care of his medical bills? He's only suing you for $2,000. I would. If you can't control your temper, Mr. Mojica, don't play soccer.
But, Your Honor, there was 2 people attacking me.
If you can't control your temper, don't play soccer. You have to punch somebody really hard to break a jaw. Not a push, not a shove. You got to punch somebody really hard, just like you kick them really hard if you're angry. Judgment for the plaintiff.
It's case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Perry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Davis, for how long were you and Miss Perry friends before you moved into her basement apartment?
We've been friends since grade school.
And how did it come about that you needed a place to stay and moved into her basement?
Well, my lease was up in May, and I'm moving to Texas coming the next year, so I didn't want to sign another lease where I'll be committed to do another year. Discussing, and we decided that, okay, we'll try to, move in together so I didn't have to sign another lease.
Not moving together. You were moving into her house?
Yes.
That she owns?
No, she rents.
You rent. How long have you been renting the house?
5 years.
Who else lives there?
Nobody, but my brother, he's paroled to my house.
Your brother is what?
Paroled
to your house?
Yes.
And how do you support yourself?
I'm on Social Security. I had a back injury.
And your brother?
Oh, he works at a plastic glass or something like that.
How much do you pay in rent on the house?
$750.
Is that housing subsidized in any way?
No, straight rent.
How much do you get from disability?
Like...
You rent rooms?
Yeah,
It's not enough money.
No, I rent rooms.
You rent rooms?
When she first...
How many rooms do you rent in the house?
3.
3 in addition to the basement?
No. 2 with the basement.
2 plus the basement?
Right.
She has 1 plus the basement.
No,
She has her room.
I have the one my brother has a whole attic. When she moved in, I had another man living in the bedroom, the actual bedroom on the same floor of mine. My brother got the whole attic. The other man lived on the same floor. When she wanted to come, only thing I said...
I'm just trying to figure out how you financially manage on your $925 a month and your rent is $750.
Yeah.
So now it consists of how many rooms?
It's just a big open space.
Is there a bathroom there?
No, we shared the bathroom.
Is it finished in any way?
No, it's finished, floors, everything.
Floors and walls?
Yep.
Is that correct?
No, it's not finished. It's just a regular basement.
May I see a picture of it?
I don't know what you want to see. There go some pictures of the basement.
I just want to see what it looks like. Just show me one picture of what it looks like. I don't need a volume of books. Just a picture of what the basement looks like. Just a big open space.
Right.
Okay. And who was going to be moving in there?
Oh.
And my dog.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a CNA and a med aid.
When did you move in?
I moved in July 11th.
Did you pay rent for July?
That's with the $175. I wasn't even there a month.
No.
No.
Yes, I did.
You did. When did you give her money?
I gave her the money on the 11th of August. I gave her $130, and then on the 11th, I also gave her another $65.
What did you pay her in July? Is my question.
That was for July.
No, you pay July's rent in July. You pay August's rent in August. What did you pay her for July? If you tell me nothing, then the answer is nothing.
Well, the
you
$175 was for July.
You lived there. No.
Okay.
No. It's supposed to be per month.
$175. Well,
$350.
What?
$350 per month for you, your dog, and your son.
Shh, just a second. And don't shout out again. How much was your monthly rent?
We agreed on $350.
So prorated rent for the month of July would have been about $240. So you didn't pay any rent in July.
Correct.
Now, on August 1st, did you pay any rent?
I didn't pay until the 11th.
Okay. When did you give her any money?
On the 11th.
So a month after you moved in, you gave her how much?
I gave her $130 the first time where she signed.
When
and
did
then
you?
I gave her $65.
When?
On the 11th of August.
When?
On the 11th of August.
And the same day you gave her another $65.
That night, I gave her another $65.
So you gave her a total of $195, and you should have given her $590. $350 for the month of August and $240 for the month of July if you moved in July 11th.
Correct.
Well, why did you only give her $195?
Because that was the agreement that me and Jenny had.
No, your agreement was $350 a month. That's what you both agreed to.
But we had agreed that I would, because she knew that I was going back to school to redo my certification. So I wasn't working at that time, just for those weeks. So when I got paid $30 plus the $65, and then we agreed, since it wasn't the end of August, that I would pay her the remaining before the end of.
You're a big girl. You understand what the rules are. You pay rent on the first of the month for the month. You don't pay the end of the month for that month that you've already lived there. Everybody knows that. Now, if you had a separate agreement with her, that's fine, that you weren't going to get it. She says that you never had that agreement. Did you have an argument with her?
Kind of, yes.
When?
We had an argument with each other on the 11th of August.
Tell me about the argument.
The argument is because we agreed that I would leave.
Don't tell me. Agreed. What was the argument about?
About my dog.
Was the argument originally about money?
No.
So it was about you moving out?
Yes.
And you were moving out because?
There were snakes in the basement.
Okay. So you were moving out because she felt that the situation was unsafe?
Correct.
And what did she say to you? Did you take a picture of these snakes?
No, but I have her text messages where she said the snakes was gone and they were not gone.
Because the landlord came that day.
Well, from your statement, you acknowledged that there was a problem, there had been a problem with snakes. Is that correct?
Yes.
In the basement or the whole house?
No, just, it was one snake in the basement.
Keep your voice up, don't.
Oh, it was one snake in the basement. And she had told me, I called my landlord and he got it out.
Just a second. Did you first learn about the snakes?
Oh, when she told me. I didn't know before. She had told me.
On what date?
I believe it was like the beginning of August.
So she told you that there was a snake in the house, in the basement, beginning of August. Right. And what did you do?
I called my landlord. He came the exact next day. I sent her a text. The landlord came and he sealed the area, you know, the hole up the snake came in. She said, okay, her and her son was back that night.
Okay. So the snake came in through a hole in the basement?
Yes, it did.
And subsequent to that, it's your statement that your son saw the snake again?
Correct.
And that's when you decided to move out?
Correct.
Where were you going?
I was going to my daughter-in-law's.
How long did you stay?
For over a month.
And where are you now?
I am in my own place.
So the argument that you had involved you moving out of the basement because your son had seen the snake again? That's what he told you anyway, whether he did or not.
No, we seen it and we left.
Okay. And the argument that you had with her was you can't take your dog or your belongings until you pay me what you owe me.
Correct.
So the argument was about money. She didn't care if you left, but she wanted you to pay what?
But I didn't feel like I owed her a whole month of August if I wasn't going to be there.
I absolutely agree with you.
And if she would have told me...
No, just a second. I absolutely agree with you. You don't have to say anything else. If there was a snake and we don't know what kind of snake it was in the basement, and then they tried to rectify the situation, perhaps they sealed up the hole that the snake came in and the snake was already in. You know, they're elusive things, but you don't have to stay there.
Yes.
You don't have to stay there. But you owed her $240 for the month of July.
Correct.
When you did, in fact, stay there.
Correct.
Right?
But I paid her the $190.
Just a second. That's all you paid her, and you did, in fact, live there for part of the month of August.
Correct.
Yeah, but I don't think that you actually have to pay for the month of August, because I actually think that a snake in the basement is a constructive eviction. And even though you may have stayed there, the disruption in your life of having to move, I would find that a situation where I would say, in all fairness, you should not have to pay her anything for the month of August. Okay? You didn't have a problem with the snake in the month of July.
We didn't see one in the month
Good.
of July.
So you paid her $195, so you owe her $45. Now, she has a counterclaim.
Okay.
What you want is you want your property back?
Well,
or
it might have snakes in it, so I don't know about that.
Well, then if you don't want your property back, you don't want your property back. If it had snakes in it on August 11th, it could have snakes in it a month later or 2 months later.
Yes.
So if you don't want your property back, let's deal with the dog.
Okay.
What kind of a dog was it? She wouldn't let you take the dog.
Have a blue pit.
So what did she do with the dog?
Well, when the people came to clean out the basement, the dog had been down there. The dog tore up my basement. I called her and told her to come get her dog, come clean up. I told her to take the dog. I gave her my personal, I got 2 dogs in myself. I gave her my personal dog kennel to take in the basement. She's supposed to lock that dog up. But when you don't come back for days at a time, this is what happens when a dog is left there hungry and starving. They naturally find a way out and destroy.
No.
I have pictures of my basement.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, I have pictures of my basement, clean and dirty.
Why didn't you take the dog?
She wouldn't let me in. The police officers went into her home with her downstairs. She would not let me.
Police officers
Just a second. Shh. Did you at that time say to her, take your dog? I believe her.
I have a text message that says that I wasn't getting anything out of her house until I paid her $415.
That's okay. You have a police report that says she won't give you the dog.
I just made a whole incident report on everything.
I just want to know about dog.
No.
Well, like I told you, when we was cleaning out the basement, I have a fence around my yard. So we put the dog in the back so the cleaning people can go down there and clean because they wasn't going down there with that dog. So I put them in the back. Her dog don't have a chain or nothing. I have 2 dogs. I can't use my dog.
What happened to the dog?
It ran off, being honest. It wasn't on a leash or nothing.
On a fence? In a fenced area, it ran off?
Yeah, because, you know, my driveway part don't have the fence.
Wait, do you have a bill for the cleaning company that came in?
I just have the receipt that the woman gave me because my landlord is the one who found.
Well, I don't know if I believe the receipt. Did that receipt come from a book? Book?
I'm just being honest. This is what I got.
Well, the name of the company?
The clean out crew? Like.
Okay. You do?
I am a surgery coordinator for neuro.
I am a truck driver for a concrete company.
Did the 2 of you live together?
At one point, yes.
From when to when?
From June to August.
Of this year?
Correct.
Prior to that, you were just dating?
Yeah, correct.
Where were you living?
I was living with my parents.
And where were you living, Mr. Mendoza?
I was living with a friend, renting a room.
And then you decided to become a couple?
Correct.
Is that right? You rented an apartment, a house?
An apartment.
1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment?
1 bedroom.
How much was the rent?
$831.
Did you split the expenses?
Correct.
That's not true. I paid most of the expenses at the apartment.
Which expenses did you pay?
Rent and food.
And what did you pay, Miss Garcia?
I actually paid everything, the utilities, food, anything.
Who paid the rent?
He did.
And you purchased the food and other. Okay. You claimed some loans to Mr. Mendoza. When was the first loan?
The first loan was on February 20th. It was for his school. It was $4,500.
You claimed some loans to Mr. Mendoza. When was the first loan?
On February 20th. It was for his school. It was $4,500.
It was never a loan that we agreed on anything paying back.
Just a second. In February, you gave him a $4,000 loan. For what?
Was for his trucking school.
So you weren't driving a truck at the time?
No. I was working for a moving company at the time. A job and getting a Class A.
Okay. Now, who paid for that school?
She went on her behalf and paid it.
Just a second. She paid it because you were discussing a future together. Is that right, Ms. Garcia?
That is correct.
You were discussing a future together. Otherwise, you would, because you're a working gal, you would not have paid for a school. You wouldn't pay for a stranger school. Do you have a good job now?
I do.
Driving a truck?
Yes.
You're no longer together?
No.
When you moved into the apartment and it was decided that you pay all of the rent, who made that decision?
I took it on my behalf to pay it. When we got the apartment, she was kind of in some trouble with her family. So I also went on my behalf, did what I had to do to scramble up some money. I never said, hey, you know, you're going to owe me this later or that type of deal.
Just a second. When you took the apartment, who put down the first month's rent and security?
I put down the security, and she did the first months.
So it sounds as if you split the expenses, and you only lived together for 2 months.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. So it sounds to me like she didn't get her $4,000 back.
There was never an agreement that we would pay her back.
Can I see proof of the $4,000,
Yes.
please? I'm not talking about nickel and diming, a big chunk of money that took a long time to save. Did you take this out of a savings account?
No, I put it on my credit card because it was a loan that he had to pay back onto my card.
Did he pay any of it back?
He did. Once we broke up, he did only pay $300, and then after he kept giving me excuses.
In February, you finished the course when?
I can't remember. It was only a 4-week course.
Okay, and this was in March. So let's say April of this year, finished. And when did you get a job?
Right after.
So in April or May?
Yeah, April.
Give me an idea of how much you earn now.
So far, a couple months, 20,000.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, well, $4,500. What's next?
Also...
Don't nickel and dime me when you were living together. Do you understand?
Correct.
I wouldn't say he owes me... I'm not hearing you. I'm not... What's next?
Also...
Don't nickel and dime me when you were living together. Do you understand?
Correct.
I wouldn't say he owes me... I'm not hearing you, Mr. Mendoza.
And then also, after our talk with... going to school, he also needed a loan for $410 to pay his trucking tags. He does own a lifted truck, which due to the fact that
I don't care. How much did he pay you back on the $4,500 loan?
Only $300.
So he owes you $4,200.
So since he hasn't paid me in 2 months,
the loan it's on my credit card, so there's interest. So I want my full
Interest.
45, correct, and what he has.
How much interest is there? At what rate are you charged interest?
So right now, paid, it's at 19% now.
Charging for the plaintiff in the amount of 45.
Yeah, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Wallentyne versus Tomaselli. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Wallentyne, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a party, causing you physical injury. You had substantial dental bills. You still have some work that has to be done. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Triola.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Wallentyne?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going to
3rd.
get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Wallentyne. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Wallentyne?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli. Version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr. Wallentyne,
I'm sorry.
could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes. Finished, continuing going into the hallway. Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ. Hi, Ed. And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could call.
How do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I'd gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the...
Taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triola was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. Would you like to go? I said, sure. We were going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we... listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got...
I'm just interested in how you got this. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusive? All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd. You had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink. So I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when...
Mr. Wallentyne came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, that's messed up, because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber. Walking away, Mr. Wallentyne came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, what's up, dog? Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched. He reached out to me. Through my experience...
How did you see that, sir, if you were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway, and there was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Wallentyne was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, what's up, dog?
How did he put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, I'm not your dog. Experience and expertise, I know. When someone comes up behind you and says, what's up, dog? He has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber, front and center. You and Mrs. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car?
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did you
Yeah,
go in
I
your own
drove.
car or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there?
Yes.
The story by myself. These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" You know, I gave him a hug, told him hi. And I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face. See?
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
He was clearly angry because he said, "Hey, that's messed up." Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
So...
with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. "What's up, dog?" Ed said, "I'm not your dog."
Well, you just did something. You said, "What's up, dog?"
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean, Kyle?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself. It's all about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up punch you. He came up, put his hand on you, and said to you, "What's up, dog?" Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older than Officer Bird's children. Do you know what "what's up, dog" means? What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. "What's up, dog?" It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Oh, you're just a big doughboy. He's you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a bad Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
you're right.
That I had to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You got anything?
I do a lot of things, but right now,
What you just said, what's your favorite thing?
My favorite?
Yeah. You do a lot of things, though. Tell me what your favorite
My
your
favorite
is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do a production business that I work for. So I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can't.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli,
Yes, Your Honor.
Harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right? He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the hammer. Mr. Holloway, how old are you, sir?
33.
And what kind of work do you do, sir?
I have a maintenance company.
How?
Since 59. I took it over about 3 years ago.
He's no longer involved in the business.
Sometimes, yeah.
So he still goes into the office?
Correct.
On a daily basis?
2 or 3 times a week.
Are you making this up as we're going along, sir?
No.
Are you trying to give me accurate answers? Because you never can tell why I'm asking you these questions.
Correct.
Now, do you live alone or do you live with someone else?
I live with my fiance.
Did you move into her place or did you move in someplace together?
Together.
When?
2 years ago.
What's the address?
North Wilson.
How large an apartment is it?
Yes.
Are you renting or did you buy it?
We're renting that.
Are you both on the lease?
Yes.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, Mr. Soyak, you drive a limousine.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you drove Mr. Holloway in your limousine to a casino, hotel.
Yes.
And he told you that he'd forgotten his wallet and he needed a hotel room. So you agreed to put the hotel room on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am. That's not true.
He used the room and then stiffed you for the reimbursement.
I rented 2 rooms for him, $99 each.
In addition, he didn't have some money. You gave him cash. He gave you a check.
Yes, ma'am.
For $300. The check bounced.
Yes.
That's not true.
What's not true, sir?
The room. Now, the check.
Let's talk about the check.
Okay.
Let me hear.
I gave him a check. Me and my fiance was having problems at the house. I couldn't get to what I need to get to the bank. I owe him for the $300, but the hotel room, it never happened.
Okay. Now, Mr. Holloway, your last paragraph of your answer, which you swore to, sir, says, I did give him a check for $300, which was retained, that I had just moved and was having problems with my bank account.
I did just move.
No, just a second. I explained that I had just moved.
Same thing I just said.
No, that's not. Mr. Holloway, let me understand something, sir. No more than 5 minutes ago, I said to you, where do you live? You gave me the address. Who do you live with? I live with my fiance. How long have you lived there in the condo? 2 years. Did you sign a lease? Yes.
That's what I said. But I just moved. If we was having problems, evidently I had to leave because we was having problems. So I did leave. Now we reconciled. That's one thing. But the truth.
Can I see the bills for the 2 rooms, please? Mr. Soyak, how long have you been driving a limousine?
10 years.
Okay. You ever had this kind of trouble?
Never.
Mr. Soyak, let me explain something to you. Don't be an idiot. You don't take out your credit card, allow somebody to put money on your credit card. You don't take checks from people you don't know.
You're absolutely right.
Good. Can I have it, please? The rooms you rented for $99, but he certainly did a lot more damage than the $99.
He drank everything in the bar, plus movies, plus phone calls.
Okay. You owe him a whole bunch of money, sir. You owe him for these 2 hotel rooms. Who else was with you? Who else was with him, Mr. Soyak?
He found a couple of young gentlemen. They were walking the street while we were in Old Town Pasadena, and he claimed he's a music producer. And I don't know how he knew these guys can sing, but he made friends with them and invited them later to be picked up in the car, and we drove them also to the Commerce Casino. He didn't want the other two men to sleep in the same room as him, so he wanted me to get a separate room for them. That's because I have my witnesses
Mr. Holloway,
here.
Mr. Holloway.
I have my witnesses here. My other driver that picked him up Sunday.
So you dropped him off and somebody else picked him up?
Yes.
Who picked him up?
Richard. He's my co-driver.
Step up, sir. Your last name?
Thompson.
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Yes, case number 421 on the calendar, the matter Nielsen versus Moyo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Nielsen, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You say he owes you some money.
Yes.
Well, let's figure it out. How long have you been living at your current address?
Since January of 2000. 13.
What kind of residence is it?
It's an apartment complex.
Is it a one-bedroom, two-bedroom?
2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms.
And who moved in with you in January of 2013?
My friend, Katie.
When did she move out?
January of 2014.
And who moved in January of 2014?
2 more friends that I had.
And how long did those 2 friends stay?
They moved out in August.
And who moved into the second bedroom then?
Papias Moyo.
The defendant moved in with you?
Yes.
Why did they leave?
Because they didn't want to live in my apartment with me and my boyfriend.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Moyo moved in, according to you, he was working, correct?
I was, yes.
And your agreement was that you were going to split the rent, which is how much?
So it was $1,500, but it could be more with the trash utilities and the apartment fees. So it wasn't consistent every month.
And then there came a time when Mr. Moyo became ill. He had some surgeries?
Yes, I had 2 surgeries.
Working for medical reasons, and then moved out in...
I ended up moving out in November.
November of 2016.
16, yes.
Okay. Now, what month's rent are you seeking from Mr. Moyo?
The months that he was in the hospital that he wasn't able to pay?
You're not going to get that. That's ridiculous. That's what you do when you have a mate, and your mate goes into the hospital and is unable to work. If you care for your mate, then you say, listen, if I got a terrible disease and I had to have surgery and chemotherapy and radiation, I would expect my mate to cover my bills while I was unable to work.
Yes, and when he goes back to work, it post pay me back for that?
Just a second. What you said, I'm suing him for the time that he was in hospital or unable to work. So I'm not considering that time. So now I'm asking you, what months was he working and chose not to pay rent? Because you lived together for a long time without a problem. So think of my question and tell me which months.
May, June.
Okay, in May. Were you working in May?
I did work in May, yes.
Did you give her any money in May?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I was just starting out, again, like going back to work, and I also was trying to catch up on all my bill, like cell phone bills, insurance, and car
Did you
payment.
have a discussion with Ms. Small to rent?
No, we did not. However, at that time, I was actually the one who was doing all the groceries, so I felt like that was...
Your contribution?
Yes.
That was your contribution?
Because it was more...
Okay, so what you were saying is you chose to pay other bills instead of paying any part of the rent?
Yes.
Now, what other month?
June.
Were you working in June?
I lost my job at the end of May, but I did pay rent June because that is when I got all my, like the back pay.
So what did you give Miss Nielsen?
I just gave her half of the rent.
In June?
Yes.
No, he did not.
How much of a check did you get?
Like...
What other month?
July.
Were you there in July? Were you working in July?
That's when I was driving for Postmates, and I did not.
Give her rent?
No, I did not.
I never received that check that you said for the prior month that you said he gave you July. I never received a check from him. So does he have the check for that?
Don't ask him any questions. We're now in August.
August?
Did you pay her any rent in August?
No, I did not.
Were you working?
Yes.
So you owe for August. What about September?
September, I went back to the hospital because I had been taking medication. It was affecting my liver, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Was he in the hospital in September?
The last week he was.
What about October?
October, I paid her.
That's $2,200. Now you're going to tell me about a loan.
Yes.
Tell me, allegedly, when this loan was and what was it for?
It was for car repairs for his vehicle.
Did he give you any money towards the loan?
He paid a little bit.
How much?
It's $200 in cash.
Do you know what she's talking about?
Yes, I had a problem with my car, so she paid for it, and then I paid her $200 back when we started living together. However, I just never paid her, but we never spoke about it.
So how much is left on that? You originally gave him $1,700?
The total that he still owes for is $872.86.
That's $3,072.
Yes.
In November of last year, Mr. Moyo left the apartment. I gather things weren't going well, and you had made an arrangement that he would be moving out of the apartment on or before February 1st, so he could save up some money to move. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then he went out of town in November of 2016. Where did you go?
I went to San Francisco.
For how long?
For 2 days.
During that 2-day period, you filed for an order of protection.
I did.
And a lockout order.
Yes.
I'd like to see a copy of what you filed. And now I would like you to tell me why you filed for an order of protection.
We agreed that he would pay half of the rent as well as $500 to pay back the money that he owed me, and he only paid for half of the rent and did not honor his agreement to pay $500 that he owed me. So I decided that I would kick him out, and I changed the locks on Friday morning. He left out of town. He came back on Sunday night.
Just a second.
Yes.
I'm just asking you why you filed for a protective order and a lockout order. You told me that it was because of money, because he promised to pay you and he didn't. I want to see what you told them he had done to you that allowed them, or appropriate, to give you a protective order. That's what I want to see.
I have text messages?
No. I don't want to see text messages. I want to see the paperwork that you filed in court asking for a protection order. You asked for a protective order because you are in fear, because the defendant has assaulted, menaced, threatened, or harassed you over a period of time, or there was an incident in which he assaulted you, menaced you, threatened you, or harassed you, immediately preceding filing for the protective order. Now, I want to see the allegations that you made against him. You're not following Lisa Baker. You already told me why you filed for the protective order. You told me because he didn't pay you and he had promised to pay you $500. That's what you told me.
That's why
No. No judge will grant a lockout order based upon that. They'll say to you, go to housing court. Give them a 30-day notice. That's what they do. Only if you lied in the protective order would the judge give you a protective order. Show me.
I showed the court.
No.
You have everything on your desk for the restraining order.
Would you give it back to her? I want her to show me what she told the court in her application when she went there by herself, the day he left for San Francisco or the day afterwards, because that's his counterclaim. What date did you leave for San Francisco?
I left for San Francisco on the 11th of November, and I came back on the 13th. That's why she had locked up the apartment. However, she did not file the protective order until the 18th of November. And the reason she did...
So, just a second.
Yes.
So you came back?
Yes.
And then there was a lockout order?
When I came back, she had locked, and she had texted me and said that she changed Cisco. I went to the apartment, and indeed she had changed the locks.
Did you lock him out of his home?
On Friday morning, I had the locks changed.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I'm the owner on the lease.
It doesn't matter.
And he has broken his verbal agreement to pay me back the money that he owes me.
Miss Nielsen?
Yes.
You have no legal right to do what you did. He is now living in the apartment. He had been living there for almost 2 years. And you were living as a couple, and he was paying half of the expenses. That's where he got his mail. That's where he lived. And you have no right, just as you would have had no right with your two girlfriends who lived there, to lock them out if you decided you didn't. Once they pay you rent, and they make a set of rules.
And when we agreed?
No, you're arguing with me. I'm telling you what the law is.
I know, and I understand.
You understand, but you didn't want to give him his 30 days, so then you went to court and you asked for a protective order. And the protective order says that he and I agreed he would come over to pick up his belongings. And he said to you, I'm going to make your life hell because you're making my life hell. He verbally abused me, calling me a... And right now you have the upper hand, he said, but wait and see. On the 13th, he came to my house and kept trying to get into my apartment after I told him he was no longer welcome. I would request a restraining order because of my safety. That's what you wrote?
Yes.
Good. That's it. You don't have to say anything else. On your counterclaim, sir, I'm awarding you $3,072.
Thank you.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
You get nothing. Ms. Marty, you and the defendant are neighbors, and it is your claim that in September of last year, your neighbor's dog bit one of your children.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want him to be responsible for the unpaid medical bills and for pain and suffering.
Yes.
Mr. Pinkerton's defense is that it was your son's behavior that caused this dog bite. That's your defense. What other dog do you have?
It was a Boxer Mastiff mix.
What do you mean it was?
I had put him...
How long did you have him?
About 5 years.
Ever have any problem with him before?
No, I didn't.
And you have 2 dogs?
Yes, we do.
What kind do you have?
Optimus is a pit bull mix, and Max is a Staffordshire Terrier.
So they're 2 pit bulls?
Yes.
Did you see what happened, Mr. Pinkerton?
I had my back turned to when the dog fight happened, and then when everything happened, it was too chaotic.
So the answer is you didn't see what happened?
No, I didn't.
But it happened on the plaintiff's property?
Yes.
So if it happened on the plaintiff's property, you understand that in all likelihood you are responsible because the dog was out of your control on the plaintiff's property when it happened.
Okay.
I mean, that's...
All right.
That's sort of easy. I got out that if you have an animal that causes injury on someone else's property and the animal is out of your control, because it was out of your control, it wasn't on a leash,
no,
then you're responsible. So the only ones that saw what happened are these 2 guys. Which one of you was injured? Tell me your name.
Reed.
Come on up here. Okay, why don't you tell me what happened? You and your brother were playing on a trampoline?
Yeah.
And where were your dogs?
On your trampoline with us.
And your parents weren't at home?
No.
Tell me what happened with Mr. Pinkerton's dog.
We were jumping on your trampoline. John was jumping on the plane with us. They started to fight.
You mean your two dogs and John's dog?
Yeah.
Started to fight?
Yes.
And what happened next?
And then I told them to stop fighting. And Zombie didn't like that. He turned around and bit me.
Where did he bite you?
On the hand.
On the hand?
Yeah.
And did John take you to the hospital? Did you have stitches?
No.
What did they do?
They put a patch over it.
Okay. Could you come up here so I could take a look at that? Nasty. Okay. Go back and sit down. Can I see this, please? Do you have homeowners insurance, Mr. Pinkerton?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I'm renting the place.
You have renter's insurance?
No, ma'am.
You have no insurance?
Yes, ma'am. We have homeowners.
No, I mean medical
Medical,
insurance. What is this Northwest Medical Center? Did you enter into an agreement with them to pay off your bill?
Yes, they were going to send me to collections.
And that was in November?
Yes.
So you allowed them to take out $66.43 out of your account?
Correct.
But you would like the entire amount paid off?
Correct.
You're absolutely right. Judging for the plaintiff, Mr. Bryant, you claim a loan to the defendant, who is a friend of yours. He needed money to buy a truck. He was having some transportation problems, according to your complaint, and said that he couldn't get to work without the truck. He needed $1,700, which Mr. Lee does not deny that you gave him $1,700. However, he has some convoluted defense, which I'm going to let him try to explain to me. When did you give him the $1,700?
February 16th.
Of last year?
Of 2016.
Did you give it to him in check or cash?
Cash, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did you have a truck at the time?
Yes, I did. But there was problems with it, and
Okay,
it
so you
went
had a
down.
vehicle that you were having problems with?
Yes.
And you had to buy a new one?
Yes.
And you asked for some money?
No and yes.
Well, how would he know that
I
you needed...
I didn't ask him for any money.
Tell me how the $1,700 came about, sir. Exactly. And
Okay.
remember one thing, in the words of a came about, sir. Exactly. And
Okay.
remember one thing, in the words of a very wise person, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Okay. Well, exactly what happened was Mr. Bryant...
You see, right away, you're looking over there. Look right here.
Mr. Bryant knows that I'm a DJ.
Don't tell me what Mr. Bryan knows.
Okay. Well,
I don't
he-
want you to tell me what he knows, what's in his head. I want you to dollars.
Mr. Bryant came to me, and he offered to help me fix my van.
That's not true, Your Honor.
He offered to help me fix my van, and he said that he would not lend, but he would give me the money because of the fact that he wanted to help me out with my gigs, and he would have extra gigs for me. I would give him 25% of my gigs, and then that, he would earn the money back that way.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. If you speak again, I'm going to dismiss your case, and you don't want to do that because you're going to win. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a customer service manager.
And are you a married man, unmarried?
Single.
Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
3.
Where do they live?
They live with their mother.
Did they take that money right out of your check?
Directly out of my
He's
paycheck.
not giving you $1,700. You get where I'm going? He has 3 children. He's not giving you $1,700. And if he was nice enough to loan you $1,700, you got to be nicer. Hey, you got to be man enough to pay him back.
He didn't lend me anything.
You got to be man enough to pay him
There
back.
was a promise that he gave me. He promised that he was going to get me some gigs.
Yeah, it's case number 591 on the calendar in the matter of Masters Sepulveda versus Graybow.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Masters, you bought a motorcycle. It was an old motorcycle. You wanted to have it fixed, and you and/or your stepfather gave Mr. Graybow money to do some repairs on the motorcycle. And now you want all the money back. And Mr. Graybow says, they paid me the money and I did the work. Work, Mr. Graybow.
I'm the owner of the motorcycle shop.
And how long have you been the owner of the shop?
17 years.
Anybody work for you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people?
2.
Okay. Now, when Miss Masters bought in the motorcycle, did you give her an estimate?
I just had explained to Mr.
No, I want you to follow my question. I said, did you give her an estimate?
We gave Mr. Sepulveda.
Not we. You.
I gave Mr. Sepulveda an estimate.
And what was that estimate?
Approximately $2,000.
Did you give it to him in writing? That's either a yes or a no. You've been in business 17 years, Mr. Graybow. I'm getting a feeling that you're running this business, a little loose business 17 years. Somebody comes into your store, car, whatever. What they do is they say, let me take a look at it, and then I'll give you an estimate of how much it'll be to fix it, right?
Correct.
So my question is, did you give him a written estimate for $2,000?
No.
Why?
It was the kind of bike that needed so much work that we had to do it a little bit at a time, and I kept Mark updated on what the costs were going to be because he wanted so many things done. It was hard to give a total estimate with all those items needed to be done.
You mean when the bike was first brought into you, there was no direction as to what was to be done with the bike?
Yes, there was.
And what was that?
Wiring.
Who bought the parts?
The customers brought most of the parts in.
Customer bought the parts. You were just supposed to put them in.
Correct.
And that was the initial thing that you were told to do.
Correct.
And you said that my labor is going to be $2,000.
Roughly.
Is that what he told you?
No.
What did he tell you?
He told me we could fix the bike. I asked for turn signals, a flat tire repair, and then update me as to you when we get
No. That's a ridiculous statement from an adult. This is what I need on the bike. Tire repair.
Yes.
Turn signals.
Correct.
How much? Not update me as you get into the...
At that time.
Did you ask him for one?
No.
Why not?
Good question. I don't know why not. Because I trusted him. I
don't know. So what are you bothering me for?
Yeah.
Is my question. How much did you pay him altogether?
$2,000 and some change.
$2,000?
Plus, yes.
And you have the bike?
Correct.
Where is the bike?
It's in another shop, and it's not running.
So evidently you didn't do such a good job.
Correct.
Never use them again. That's a buyer's remorse. I don't understand what your lawsuit is about. I mean, he may be a lousy mechanic, but he didn't extort any money from you. What?
So I called him and got a quote over the phone.
Yes.
And so I told him about that, Mark, and he went to surprise me and dropped off the bike knowing that quote in that box part, saying what that list of parts was.
Just a second. Show me the quote.
No, he never had an estimate. It was verbal over the phone.
And what did he tell you?
He told me that it'd be about $500 to put those parts in.
Oh, but you gave him all kinds of other things to do. He told him, keep me updated as you keep progressing. Listen, you got to get it together. You live in the same house?
No.
What was he doing taking care of your business?
It was supposed to be a surprise, a project we were going to both work on together.
A surprise for whom?
For me.
Well, how was it going to be a surprise for you?
He took it into the shop wanting to do a nice thing for me.
So what did you have to do with it if it was a surprise? What did you call him?
I had ordered all these parts because we went to him because we wanted to get safety issues taken care of professionally.
$1,000, you got the bike back. On what date did you return the bike, Mr. Graybaugh?
The first time or the second time, Your Honor?
Let's go with the first time.
It was picked up on 10/31/2015.
And how long did you have the bike at that time?
Approximately a month, Your Honor.
Okay. When's the next time?
After Mr. Sepulveda picked it up, it failed after about 15 miles. So we went...
What do you mean it failed? You mean it stopped?
It stopped. The battery went dead.
Let me understand this. You had the car for a month, and after they drove the car that you had for a month, it stopped running after 15 miles.
The battery went dead.
I don't care what went dead. It stopped running.
It's an old bike, Your Honor. Had more issues. No problems.
So they brought it back when?
Dropped him off at his house, brought the bike back to our shop.
On what date?
I think the same day I brought it back. The same
What
day,
date?
and then he picked it up a week later.
Date?
What date?
10/31,
10/31.
October 31st.
Okay. And how much had you paid him between September and October 31st? How much money?
I believe $900.
$900. So after you paid him $900, the bike didn't work, and you were ridiculous enough to let him take it back.
Under warranty, yes.
It was not under warranty. What kind of warranty?
He has a 30-day warranty on everything he works on.
He didn't work on the battery.
Yes, he did.
Oh, you worked on the battery? Mr. Graybaugh,
No, ma'am.
did you buy a battery?
Yes.
You
And
bought
it
a
went-
new battery.
And it went back up more wires to it from the wiring that he did for the turn signals and the harness.
How long did you keep the bike into November?
1 week, Your Honor.
And that 1 week was $1,100.
No, ma'am. It was $180 just for that.
$180.
Yes, ma'am. We had to repair
Where'd
the-
you get the $2,000 from?
That was from all the previous work we did.
He said it was only $900.
At that point.
That was the total.
I thought
bill.
you just told me that it was $900.
Not total.
That was his balance at the time. Because he made a few deposits along the way as we went.
When was the last time you picked up the car from him?
That was on the 7th of November, the last time.
And on what date did you bring it into a new shop?
I brought it on March 22nd.
March?
Yeah.
And where was the car between November and March?
It was sitting
the
in...
car, the motorcycle. Just go like that to me.
Thank you.
Poke me with this. Poke me with this.
We were waiting for him to reply as to how he was going to fix it or go to court.
Excuse me.
So that's why it was sitting for so long.
Okay. Miss Masters?
Yes.
Next time you take your motorcycle...
I tried to contact the mechanic
Next time you take your motorcycle into a place that you believe is reliable, you get a written estimate, exactly what they're going to do and for how much they're going to do it. And I handle all the details, because he doesn't have to return any of your money. Picked up the motorcycle, you didn't bring it into another place for 6 months, and you don't get your money back.
Okay, but it went in running, and now it's not running?
I don't care.
Okay.
Then he's not a good
mechanic.
Then don't recommend him to anybody. But you don't get your money back.
Okay, but also we told him from the drop-off of the bike that we would get any parts he needed. And if I printed out all the stuff I have...
I don't care. Okay. Nobody held a gun to your head. Pay him for what he's done. Take your bike out of the shop. What?
Isn't there a law saying that he's supposed to give us an estimate?
Are you asking me questions? What I'm telling you is, you're the consumer. I would go in and get an estimate of work that I wanted done and make a decision as to whether or not I want to do that work. Listen, I went to the dentist yesterday, sitting in the chair, all of a sudden the dentist leaves, somebody else comes in with a whole chart. This is what it's going to cost. This is today's visit. This is next week's visit. This is the lab bill. This is this. Do you want to do that? Fine. Sign in 3 places. I said, I never saw that in my life, but it's very smart. But it's the first time it ever happened to me. And I've been around the block a couple of times. Most of the time you go in and you get to the front desk and they say, that'll be too fast. Tell me, why didn't you ask? Is that your question? Why didn't somebody tell me? Why didn't you ask? Well, I'm just going to give you the same answer that the dentist will tell me.
Right.
Right? You should have asked. How much is it? The whole ball of wax. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
The defendant was the tenant in a home that you owned for 5 years. When was her tenancy from? From when to when?
It was October of 2010, leaving on July 5th, 2015.
And when you rented the house to her, who were the tenants in the house?
The lease called for her husband, Gary, her, and 3 children.
And how old were the children?
10, 8, and 12, maybe, right in that range.
When the lease started?
Correct.
Now, when had you purchased this house?
Approximately 3 years.
Distressed sale at a distressed price, or was it height of the market?
Can I explain? I own the house across the street, and there was an elderly woman that lived in that home. She passed away. A relative came to sell the home, and I went over and talked to him, and we just discussed, and we negotiated a deal and bought the house.
So an elderly person lived there for a long time?
Correct.
And you bought it in 2007. Did you ever live in the house?
I did not.
Did you rent it in 2007?
Yes, I did.
From 2007 to when?
It's still rented now. It's right close to a college, so we get a lot of students, so we get 1-year lease, and then they're out, and then another. So you had students living there from 2007 to 2000. You have living there? I had a young couple living there from 2007 to 2009, and then students from...
Students from 2009 to 2010.
Correct.
Can you produce any bills for me of any renovations that were made prior to the defendant moving into the house?
No.
So can you present any bills to me of any renovations that you made to the house prior to the young couple moving into the house?
No.
So it would be fair to say, Mr. Bruno, and we're speaking, you and I, very frankly, that from the time you purchased the house until the time that the Brewers moved out of the house, you made no structural changes to the house or any major repairs. So you did a little cosmetic work. So correct. The bathrooms, the kitchen, and everything else were the same when the elderly lady lived there for many years, up through 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're claiming that after 5 years of tenancy, the defendant caused a great deal of damage to the house, and you wanted to be responsible for that damage.
Correct.
A security deposit with you?
She did.
How much?
$950.
Did you give it back to her?
I did not.
Okay, so now I'd like you to show me pictures of what you claim a damage that Miss Brewer inflicted on your property that has not been renovated in well over a decade, except for a paint job on the outside. What is this a picture of?
Pantry.
Are you planning on renting this house again?
It is rented currently.
With the same oven?
Oh, no.
You put in a new oven?
No.
What did you do?
It was cleaned. Took them a while, but they cleaned it.
What's this a picture of, sir?
There is a separate storage room just off the back patio, and that's the door to it.
Well, I'd like you to look at the bottom of this door, and I'd like you to tell me what the bottom of that door looks like, sir. Tell me what damage you think a person did to that door as opposed to years of neglect.
I can't tell you what the people did to it.
No, I'm just asking you. I'm looking at the bottom of that door that you would like her to pay for, and I see it apart. And it's not coming apart as a result of anything anybody did to it. It's coming apart because it's ancient.
I disagree with you, Your
You
Honor.
disagree with the bottom of that door?
Also, Your Honor, we did not charge her for the door.
So what are you showing me a picture of it for?
Well, we repaired the hole in the door and the hole on the other side of the door that had a fist hole in it. And if you look, it's consistent with most of the bedrooms.
You see, if I were a reasonable landlord, I would have replaced the whole door, which is falling apart, and paid for it myself. This house has been a cash cow for you for 5 years. I would have done some major renovation in it.
And then rented to students again. That's what we are. So there's a give and take.
So what you want to do is rent to students and leave it like a pig pen. And if you leave it like a pig pen, that's the way people are going to treat it. And what's this
unit in the backyard that had a screwdriver or something punctured?
Or rats. I don't know what it is. Okay. How much was your rent over the 5 years?
It started out at $9.50, then it was raised $50 3 times since then.
So, did you buy this house free and clear, sir, or is there a mortgage on it?
There's a mortgage.
How much?
Roughly the balance is $130,000 now.
How much do you pay for the mortgage a month and taxes?
About $1,400 a month.
Well, then her rent doesn't cover the mortgage.
You're correct.
Then how do you expect to be in business?
Well, it's based on...
Well is not an answer.
I apologize. The property value, hoping that the property values increase and we're able to sell it, and it's not all about the monthly income.
Students.
$1,200 a month.
And is that what you were paying?
$1,250, I believe, wasn't it? No.
So now you're renting it to college students again?
I am.
How many?
3. Place looks great.
Wait till the end of the year. I don't find anything here so egregious. I don't find anything here more egregious than normal wear and tear with 5 adults living in a house that hasn't been cared for in well over a decade. Usually, I'm very lenient to landlords because I don't like people that destroy their property. But you're using this property as a cash cow. You're doing no renovations in it at all. There's a stove that you showed me that looks like it's at least 25 years old, that if I were renting it to anybody, I would spend $250 and replace. You chose not to do that. You chose not to replace a door that's falling apart. You probably puttied up a hole. If I owned property that I was happy with and that I thought would increase in value, I mean, unless what you tear down the house because the value of the property is what the value is, not the house.
Does the lease have any bearing on that they have an obligation to put the house back in the same condition it was when they moved in?
Show me the condition it was when they moved in.
Here you go. Unfortunately, not as many pictures, and I've got countless other pictures of the rest of the damage, Your Honor.
Just a second.
There's damage.
Looking.
I don't understand why the damage doesn't matter.
Just a second. Is this the way the bathroom looked when you moved in?
I might have to see them closer,
Okay.
please.
Bathroom, kitchen, and outside. Okay, these are absolutely beautiful pictures.
It's a beautiful house.
And I'm looking. I don't have any of those same pictures in this group of room.
Your Honor, what about the
kitchen?
things on the list? I have a list of what was done. The faucets.
I don't care what was done.
So if they take a faucet and
I don't care.
That doesn't matter.
I don't care what you did, sir.
Oh.
I don't know who did it. You had an old house that you took marginal care of. Now, I'm asking you a question. Is that the way the kitchen, bathroom looked when you moved in?
These look better. I mean, the pictures, I don't know when these were taken.
My question was, were those the pictures of what the house looked like when you moved in?
No, I don't think so.
Well, they're not dated.
Yeah, that was the actual picture from the Craigslist ad that she answered. But
well, that
and the
doesn't
reason
mean,
the house was
that
painted,
doesn't mean because right before she moved in, sir, you had a bunch of college kids living there.
I did not have a bunch of college kids, Your Honor. I had 3 college kids.
Yeah, Mr.
They did
Bruno,
not do the damage.
Let me explain something to you. I'm not giving you any more money. You had a house for over a decade. You did absolutely nothing in it. You had a paying tenant who paid you every month on the rent. There's no issue with regard to that. You kept us security for cleanup of the house. Sometimes to college kids, sometimes to couples. The couple only lasted a short period of time. They lasted 5 years. So if you want a nice sparkling house, I suggest that you take care of it.
This is case number 156 on the calendar, the matter of Huntsman versus Green Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Your last name is?
Green.
And this is your daughter?
Yes.
Miss Huntsman, according to what I read, the only way you know the defendant, Miss Brown, that would be you, right, is through a cousin of yours?
No, she's my little brother's girlfriend.
Your brother's is or was your brother's girlfriend?
Situation.
You still together with her brother?
We actually talk here and there. We're not like together. We're like friends.
You keep in touch?
Yes.
And on the night of, or the day of April 10th, it is your claim that Miss Green and her daughter came to your house uninvited. You had no idea why. Both of them vandalized your car. Both of them took turns trying to pickaxe your screen door, caused damage to 6 windows, caused you to lose work because you're an Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the relief that you are requesting is about $5,000. Miss Brown presents a totally different picture. They say on the 10th of August, Miss Brown was in your house where you live, where your brother is, and they were having an argument.
Yes. She's never been inside my house.
Shh. She was in your house where you live with your brother, or your brother was there, and they were having an argument. And Miss Green says, because she signed the answer, that you came in the midst of that argument on April 10th and sucker punched her daughter to the extent that she had serious injury and didn't go to the hospital that day, filed a police report, and they're counterclaiming. They're counterclaiming for that assault and the fact that you filed a protective order against them, but you never showed up for it. They went and you never showed up. And they are counterclaiming for The same, about $5,000. So it's going to be up to me to make a judgment as to these two stories. They're totally inconsistent. You do understand that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right?
Yes. I have witnesses. I never touched her.
Listen to me. Don't say anything just yet. Right? Now, Miss Huntsman, just so that I understand, you've never met Miss Green.
Yeah, I never met.
You only know Miss Brown because she was dating your little brother.
Yes.
And you met her how many times?
Once.
And in the one time that you met her, you had absolutely no falling out with her. There was no discussions. There were no arguments.
No, I met her briefly at a camping trip, told her she had a pretty name.
So neither one of these two people had any grudge against you?
No.
You didn't have any grudge against her prior to April 10th?
No, I don't even know her.
Right. So I'm going to ask a few questions. Ms. Green, have you been psychiatrically hospitalized in any way in the last 6 months?
No.
What about you, Miss Brown?
No.
Did either one of you take any psychotrope? Okay, so that you're not crazies and you weren't on some bender on April 10th.
No.
And you say you never went back to her house. Now, this is what I want you to be careful with. What your answer says is that Miss Huntsman on April 10th got in the middle of an argument with your daughter and her boyfriend. And Miss Huntsman sucker punched your daughter and she was injured. You have photographs. I'm sure you have hospital records of that injury.
Yes.
Okay? I have to tell you that I'm not a vigilante. You know, I believe in law and order. But if somebody did that to my daughter, I'd be angry. I might be angry enough to go to their house and to take a sledgehammer to their car. I might be angry enough, just listen to what I'm saying. I might be angry enough to break in a window. I might be angry enough to destroy a screen door. Do you understand? I might be angry enough because somebody hurt my child to do all of those things. That's a pretty serious motive, right? I just want you to think about that before you say to me, I wasn't there. Do you understand? It's all about the story, what makes sense and what doesn't. Now, Ms. Huntsman, I'm going to ask you, psychiatrically hospitalized in the last 6 months?
No.
Take any psychotropic drugs?
No.
Can you think of any reason why on April 10th the defendants would come to your house and attack your car? You were the target. Attack your car and try to attack you, actually, through a screen window. Can you think of any reason? Now, we already know they're not crazy, and we already know you're not crazy.
I think she was upset that my brother broke up with her and that she got beat up by my little cousin. And she wanted to destroy something.
Oh, no, just a second. Oh, that's interesting. No, that's interesting. With her. That was on April 10th. They were arguing. Were they really loud? Did it get physical or just yelling?
What I saw them yell. I was asleep, and my cousin said, there's some girls here, so...
No. Just slowly. I saw
her getting beat up, and...
You saw who getting beat up?
Her fiance.
You saw Miss Brown getting beat up in your house?
No, they were in the alleyway, not on the grass or the driveway or nothing.
At your house?
Yeah, not inside, though.
At your house?
Yeah.
And you saw Miss Brown, your hand, by her name?
Malia.
And where were you?
I was sleeping, then I ran outside and I tried to break them up.
Okay, so you were sleeping, and you were sleeping with your son.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And you were awakened by what?
By Malia.
How were you awakened by Malia?
She came and knocked on the door and she said, "There's some girls here to fight me."
So then what happened next?
And then I put on my knee braces. I was recently in a wheelchair, so I had to put my knee braces on. By the time I got outside, they were already fighting, and I tried to break them up.
You tried to break them up?
Yes.
That's not true. Shh. And then what happened?
Good fiance, she just got in a car and she told my brother that she was gonna have some dudes beat him up, and then her and her friend left, and then we went in the house and my brother left.
Well, you left out the part in your complaint of you trying to break them up.
Well, I tried.
How were you trying to break them up?
Well, I have on knee braces, so I couldn't do much. It was mostly just, can y'all stop? But it wasn't much I could do. And her friend was there.
Well, you could do a lot, because one of the things that you were telling me that you were able to do, because one of the things you're suing for, Ms. Huntsman, is your loss of wages, because at the time, due to the damage to my car, I was unable to continue driving for them. So even with the terrible braces you had on your legs and all of that trauma, you were still able to drive for Uber.
I wasn't driving for... My job was to drive for Uber before I was in a wheelchair. I was on disability. I was just able to walk about a month ago and went to sign up for Uber. Again, you got to get your car checked once a year. My car got too many dents in it.
All I say I was driving for Uber.
Yeah, that was my job.
And my car was damaged. Okay, so now you're outside and you are just trying gently to separate them. Okay, because first of all, this is your cousin? She says there are some girls here that want to fight me, right? So instead of doing what a normal person would do, which is to go to the phone and call 911 and say to the police, there are some girls here looking to fight me, she runs outside to fight with them. That's what you're telling me. Is that correct? Yes, of course. And then, instead of you, because you have a baby with you, and leg braces, right? Instead of you calling the police and saying there is fighting outside in my alleyway, you went outside to break up the fight. What'd you do with the baby?
My son was in the doorway with his big cousin.
What big cousin?
Her boyfriend was there too. His name was. Yeah, it was a lot of people there.
Did her boyfriend go outside to break up the fight?
He tried. We all tried to break them up.
Not true.
Not true at all.
Okay, listen to me. I'm going to get the story. Do you understand? Either I'm going to get the story or I'm going to make one up that neither one of you likes.
So on April 10th, 2017, me and my boyfriend at the time, we got into an argument. And
where were you when you got into?
In front of I guess her aunt's house where she was staying at the time.
In front of the house where she was staying?
Yes. He had my phone and wouldn't give it back to me because of our own relationship problems we were arguing about. And I guess I was being outside.
That cousin?
Yeah. She was like, why are you in front of my house being rude and disrespectful? You need to leave. I'm like, I'm just trying to get my phone, and what me and him are arguing about has nothing to do with you. So as I'm going to my trunk of my car, me and my boyfriend at the time are still going at it. He's getting his backpack out of my trunk. I feel a body come to the side of my face, on the left side of my face, and it was Jasmine that just straight sucker punched me in my face. I was trying to swing back, and as I fell on the ground, she's on top of me, along with her cousin Malia, swinging, calling me, just saying, get that, calling me. And my boyfriend at the time didn't even stop mad, I don't know.
That's why he's not around now. They're still talking.
After that, a few days later, he calls about the situation that happened between me and his sister, and we also had made a police report, which the information...
Okay. Carefully. Stand up. April 10th, where were you?
I was in my house.
Is that where she stays?
Yes.
Okay, what were you doing there?
Well, I was in my room, then I hear commotion outside with my cousin and fiance. So I went outside, and they were arguing, and I tried to tell fiance that she just needs to leave. I came back with another female and her hair tied up. Seemed like they were finna jump me. They started approaching my front door, and that's when I was in the house saying, Jasmine, some girls are here to fight me.
Okay, so what you're telling me is she left.
Yes.
And she comes back with a friend.
Yes.
A female friend or a male friend?
A female friend.
Doesn't say anything to you, but you go in and say to Miss Huntsman, I think these girls are there to fight me.
Yes.
And you're in the house?
Yes.
And then you decide to go outside?
Yes.
Why?
I felt threatened, and...
If you feel threatened, just stay in your house.
Well, I probably should have called the police, but I went outside.
No, if you feel threatened, even if you don't call the police, stay in your house. What'd you go outside for?
I just went outside.
Well, did you think that was bad judgment?
Well, I wanted to see what she came back to my house for.
Well, you already told her what she came back to your house for. She came back to your house to fight you, according to you. That's what you said to her. I think these girls are here to fight me.
Right.
And I don't understand why you would go outside.
Your Honor, I never left.
Just a second.
I never left out.
Just a second.
Stop lying.
Just a second.
You stop lying.
May I see photographs of her injury, please? May I see the hospital report and the police report?
Correct.
Don't tell me it's not correct. Don't try to explain a piece of evidence that I'm not even looking at. The police department spoke to you, Miss Huntsman.
Yes.
And they spoke to you the day of the incident when you both reported these incidents to the police. Your damage to your car and the defendant, Miss Brown, the assault. Do you remember speaking to the police officer?
Yes.
Let me read to you what the police officer says you said to the police officer. Huntsman told me she was awake and had no idea anything was going on between her brother and Miss Brown.
So as soon as they did all that damage to my car, I took my son to my friend's house. So the officer, when he first got there, he only spoke with her. And then they called me and told me.
I know that the only person that they talked to was her. Then later, they came and spoke to you.
Yeah, so maybe he assumed that...
I don't care what he assumed. That's what he wrote.
Okay.
So at no time did you tell the police that it was Miss Brown that damaged your car?
Yes, I did.
I want you to show me that in the police report. You have it. Because the only way that she was brought back photos to her.
Yeah.
And showed you a photo ID. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not saying they didn't do it. I'm going to figure out the story. Show me in the police report where it says you said that these two people damaged your car.
It's not in the police report.
It's not in the police report. What is clear? It said she identified the person from a photo array.
She told the officer who it was, and he said, if I bring back a lineup, can you pick her out? And she said, yes, because we only met them at a camping trip once.
I'm asking you, where in here, listen to me, I'm asking you where in here, because it looks to me as if you left the house.
As soon as it happened, I took my son away. I did.
As soon as the assault was over, or as soon as the vandalizing was over?
As soon as the vandalism was
on. After the assault was over.
I never touched her daughter, and me and my son went back to sleep.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. I don't believe you at all. And I absolutely believe that you vandalized their car. Absolutely, positively.
I never touched her daughter.
Then you keep very, very poor company, because if somebody came to a house looking for a fight and came in and said to me with my baby son there, some people came to fight me, which is what you want me to believe, and she ran outside, and you leave your baby in the house and go outside and put your braces on and go outside, and there are guys in the house, her boyfriend, your boyfriend, they're to get involved, but you're getting in between a fight. And it would be very easy for Miss Brown to say that she punched her. Very easy. Did you ever make an accusation? What's your last name?
Gully.
Miss Gully assaulted you?
They both did. The police report.
Just a second. You made an accusation that they both did.
Yes.
Were you ever arrested?
No.
Okay.
She told the police.
Well, there's no question that you were assaulted. I think you were having a fight with your boyfriend, and I think that they got in your face.
Yes.
That's what I think happened. And
Your
you got
Honor,
hurt.
Only I got hurt.
And most people who are normal people want the person who hurt them to be punished. Not the wrong person. They easily have sued you. She didn't. She said that she was arguing, but she said she sucker punched her.
Your Honor, that's not true.
She jumped in it.
You weren't there. I was nowhere near her.
Between the two of you, she was injured.
Yeah,
neither one of you were injured. Neither one of you were injured.
Malia jumped in and was calling me.
I never hit you.
Your Honor, I didn't jump in because Jasmine is handicapped.
I didn't stop in the fight. Even my...
just a second.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. I absolutely believe that your car was vandalized, and I absolutely believe that they vandalized your car. And based upon the damage to the car, it's at least $5,000 worth of damage to your car. I absolutely believe you were assaulted. I absolutely believe that she was partially responsible for the assault, and you were injured, and the medical reports suggest that you had a swollen eye and a broken cartilage in your nose, for which I'm awarding you $5,000, which means that neither one of you get anything.
Has it been sworn in? You may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Lewis, I'm going to start with you, sir. Do you work?
I do.
Who do you work for?
I work for a plumbing company.
How long have you worked for them?
About 2.5 years.
You work full-time?
Yeah.
Get paid by check or cash?
Check.
They take all your deductions from the check?
They do.
So you file tax returns?
I do.
What address did you use last year for your tax return? And the year before?
Pretty sure I've used that same address. That's been a mailing address for me for quite a while.
When you say a mailing address, what does that mean, Mr. Lewis?
That means my grandmother lives there and I get mail there.
So if your grandmother lives there and that's where you get mail, you pick up your mail occasionally. Where do you live, Mr. Lewis?
I was living with Sarah.
Yes, you were. I know you were.
Yeah.
Because she was your girlfriend for how long?
We were together for almost 10 years.
And you have 2 children together.
That's correct.
And where did you and Miss Lopez live?
Would you like the address?
Yes.
Fraser Avenue.
And would you mind telling me why you used your grandmother's address instead of Fraser?
Because we only moved there July.
Where did you live?
I lived at that same address.
No, you didn't live there. You told me it was a mailing address that you had for years because you and Miss Lopez were together. Yeah. That's what you just told me, at least for the last 3 years that you filed tax returns.
That's correct.
So I want to know where you lived for the last 3 years.
Okay, I lived there.
No, that's not what you told me a moment ago until you figured out where I was going.
Well, I've had that as an address, at least a mailing address for a while.
I understand. That's what you told me before. I didn't ask you that. I asked you where you were living.
Okay. I lived there, and then before that, I lived at Lazzini at the time.
And why didn't you use that address for your mail?
Because my grandmother's house is she's lived there for almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm. And it was stable.
Exactly.
How do you support yourself, Miss Lopez?
I am a nurse on maternity leave.
And how long have you been nursing?
Since 2010.
And you have 2 children. They're 5 years old and 2 months old. Is that right?
Yes.
And he's the father of both of those children?
Yes.
With regard to the 5-year-old, in 2013, did Mr. Lewis pay child support?
Not that I'm aware of. I only once ever received child support. It was 2 checks for $40.
In what year?
I believe it was 2000.
Did you ever take him to court for child support?
I did. I have a court order for it. I have it right here if you need to see it.
I'd like to see it.
This is just a court document of the printout for owed. You can see it comes from the court itself.
Do you get any county assistance?
I do, recently.
Prior to recently, in 2014?
No, that's when I did see the $40 check. And
well, that's just one $40 check.
Yeah.
But in 2014, did you ever receive any assistance?
No.
What about 2013?
No. Now I've gone back on assistance since maternity leave. My savings ran out and raising 2 kids on my own.
Okay. When did you take Mr. Lewis back to court?
Let's see. It's been about 9 months. We were just getting back together. This was in November of last year.
Yes. And?
And we actually started trying to become a family again. We had taken a break for the kids and things like that. We were just arguing too much, and we didn't want to expose the kids to that. Well, I only had the one. Okay, so the very recent newborn. But, you know, she was too perceptive on arguing whether it was over money, working late, things like that, you know. So we had to take a break from...
Break. What I want to know is, were you living together before you took a break from each other?
No. We weren't.
So what kind of a break did you take?
Basically, we were seeing each other every day, regrouping, you know, bring the kid and him. We'd get together. We would stay maybe, you know, at a hotel room for a month just to be together. My father hates his guts. And at the time, I was living with my father. My father's ex-military. Leave it at that.
Now I'd like to know why you're here, because for 10 years you created this almost family with Mr. Lewis without the benefit of doing anything legal. And so I want to know what brings you here now.
Okay, we were going to get a place together, okay? And we were going to be stable and healthy, and everything was going to be right for the kids. The first month's rent, he paid $800 on the deposit at a $2,100, okay? We devised a rental agreement. You know, you pay $750, I'll pay $750. We'll just each do that. But every month he came up with a new excuse. You know, July comes and, oh, I can't. November, October, all of these months had an excuse in it. He did pay a bill, but what happened to the rest of the money? Why are you telling me that you paid on the water bill, and then I get a call from them saying, we're going to shut off your water 2 days before Thanksgiving. We've never received a payment from you. And I'm going, he's told me every month water bill.
I'm not a therapist.
No.
You're living together as a family.
We had an agreement. We actually agreed to pay these parts rent. We put it in writing. That's how much I didn't trust the situation.
Well, you're telling me you didn't trust the situation enough? You've known him for 10 years? You trusted him enough to have another baby with him.
Right. I never said he was
That's 2 months old. But you didn't trust him enough to take care of his responsibility for rent to the extent that you had him sign an agreement, according to you, that he would pay half the bills.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
Well, yeah. Just because, you know, you're not a great guy financially doesn't mean you're a bad father. Sorry. I mean, he's great with our daughter. She doesn't understand, hey, mommy and daddy are fighting because he didn't pay his half of the rent again. You know, that's not for a 5-year-old to understand.
Yeah.
Can I respond?
You can. I'll give this another 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I paid more of the deposit than what she's stating. Okay. Well, her reasons for having excuses, I did pay a $1,500 medical bill all at once. I have the copy of the bill right here.
That was for whom?
That was for our daughter.
Neither one of you, I assume, have insurance.
I do. I'm only allowed 6 prescriptions a month. Well, this was 3 days ago. I had to decide whether to buy a nebulizer for my kid or food.
I'm just asking you whether he paid the $1,500. I'm just asking you whether he paid a $1,500 bill.
Yeah.
He did. Okay. And
that was part of the reason why I didn't have the money to pay my portion of the rent. I did sign a contract with her stating that I'd pay half the rent and half utilities. And I spoke with her about it, and I said, you know, hey, I've paid all this money for this. I don't have the money for rent. And we didn't sign a contract. It was just a quick 2-minute statement of, okay, I understand, and, you know, we'll take care of it. I have the money.
Anybody else want to tell me anything?
Okay. So in October, we're fighting because we don't have, you know, the money, the rent. I'm having to come up with pneumonia, nebulizers, all kinds of different medications, things like that. And calls me from the casino. I make my sister ride in the car because I'm like, I'm going to hit him. Don't let me hit him. Yes. So mad. He saved secret money. All these times I was asking him for help with the bills, he saved secret money and lost it at the poker table. Calls me from the casino, tells me how bad he feels about it. And that was the last straw. I'm like, get out. We can't do this. I can't. Sorry, I have 2 kids. I don't need 3.
That story is completely untrue.
Just a second. Just a second.
I brought my sister with me.
I don't care if it's true or whether it's not true. You know him for 10 years. You lived on and off with him, despite the fact that your father's best judgment, according to you at least, you didn't listen to, moved with your daughter into together because you were living with your father, didn't trust him enough. You sound like an intelligent woman. You went to nursing school, you have a responsible job, or you had until you decided with this, according to you, and I'm not suggesting it's true, sir, but according to you, he's a loser. According to you, you didn't trust him enough to take care of responsibility, that you had him sign a document that he was going to be responsible, and yet he was irresponsible.
Yeah.
And yet he was irresponsible, as he had been before. Because before, you told me you were always fighting with him about money. The responsible thing is not to make another baby with somebody like that, especially when you have a 5-year-old. That doesn't have to happen unless that's the way you felt it, as if it was the right thing to do, to start over as a family. Well, if it didn't work out, you're not supposed to come to court.
No, I'm coming to court because I need him to pay me something.
Go to family court. Get an order attaching his wages for child support. That's what you do.
I'm not here for child support. The county will help me with that.
I'm telling you that that's what you have to do, because just as he did not have a counterclaim, say, well, we have an agreement that I'm supposed to pay for half the bills but expenses for our daughter, and I could show you that. Well, how does that figure into your equation? He says he didn't have money for rent because he took care of this one large outstanding bill for $1,500. You know, courts aren't budget makers for two people that are keeping house together, especially people who were keeping house together for 10 years. So I'm telling you, your recourse is to go to family court.
And sue for back rent?
No, you can't sue for back rent. No court is going to entertain that for back rent. Not with people who are playing house with 2 children for 10 years. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Each other today, are we?
No, ma'am. No, yeah.
Let me see if I understand this sort of correctly. You all live together, you two? For some reason, you were taken into custody by immigration naturalization. When?
I was taken in the beginning of March.
March of 2013?
No, 2012, Your Honor.
2012?
Right.
So not only is this a silly little case, it's also an old silly little case.
Correct, Your Honor.
It's a good thing I've had my lunch. He was your roommate. He was taken into custody by ICE. He was detained wrongfully, I assume,
right,
because you are a U.S. citizen.
I'm a permanent resident, Your Honor.
Permanent resident. You have a green card.
Right.
So they took you into custody. You were held for
2 months.
2 months. And while you were being held for 2 months, you covered some of his bills.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That was nice of you. Were you his friend?
I was.
Good. That's what I would have done if my friend was taken into custody, and I would cover a couple of $100s worth of his bills, which is what you sued into custody in March. But your goodness only lasted so long because, according to what I've read, you sublet his room.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In what month did you sublet his room?
An entire month after he was in jail.
Would you let me know what month that is so I don't have to guess?
It was May.
Your last name is?
Perales.
What month did you sublet the room?
It was the 2nd month, so if he was taken in March, it was April. And, Your Honor, he wasn't the only one who helped him pay the bills. I did, too. All of us did. Of course.
Okay, so you rented out his room. Now, who did you rent out the room to?
A man by the name of Victor, which was another one of his friends that he let into our home.
And when you rented it to pay?
Victor paid around $260.
And how much were you paying in rent?
I was paying $265.
And did the $265 include anything other than your portion of the rent?
No, it didn't.
Oh, by the way, what date in March were you taken into custody?
March 5th, I believe.
Had you paid March's rent?
No, Your Honor. I hadn't had the chance to pay it because...
Just as the answer is no.
No, ma'am.
But you did live there in March.
I did.
So you would be responsible for March's rent.
That's true.
How many people lived in the house?
There was 5 of us.
Other than yourself and you, who else kicked in to cover his portion of the rent for March?
We actually had all split it evenly. On the lease, had split that rent evenly, and it came out to $66.25.
So that's all I have to do to figure out what your little share of his rent was. Go like this: 260 divided by 4, $65.
That's correct.
You want your $65.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes. Previous month, I had paid for it by myself.
Is that right?
Your Honor, I have bank statements from the time when I pulled out money for February on May 31st when I got out. One for the month that I couldn't pay for because I was detained, and then for the following month that I was to live there.
Are we talking about your February bills?
Right.
I assume gas and electric, or those things.
Right.
Who did you give that money to?
I gave that to the roommates.
Well, he says he paid for it himself.
My bank statements from that month, I actually paid for all the bills through my bank account for every single month. But this specific month is the month of March, February.
We gave him money and he paid it.
Okay, so you all the roommates gave him money, he covered the bills. Did all the roommates give him money for Mr. Gonzalez's expenses other than his rent?
Everything was split.
That's incorrect. The rent was the only thing that was split for when he was gone. I was actually the only one who covered his bills for that moment.
How much were his bills?
His bills were $65.18 is what we recollect, what I had written down when we had done this all.
Let us assume his bills were $65 and his rent was $65, your portion of it, because you're the only one who's suing. Claim he owes you.
That's about half of it.
What's the other half?
So the rest of what he owes me was the last month's bills. Everybody had ditched me for those bills.
Why did everybody ditch him for the last month of bills?
Your Honor, we felt that he was making enough revenue doing things that we didn't approve of in the house.
That's not a reason. How much were his final months of bills? Just his share?
Our electricity was just shy of $300.
No. You indicate his share is $91.82. That's what you indicate here.
Yes, that's correct. That's all split up. It would come out to about $91.
Yes. Did you sue him for the $91?
I tried to.
And what happened?
Nothing. It went to small claims. I actually did it for each individual room, individual one. Because they got that letter, 2 of them had paid me. It just so happens that his other witness is the other one that had not, besides
But the other 2 did pay you?
The other 2 did pay me.
The $91.
He's not mentioning that there was 6 roommates. Not.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care. Counterclaim, punitive damages for harassment. Explain to me in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Gonzalez, how you were harassed.
When I returned at around 9 p.m., I found Weston lying in my bed with his girlfriend.
Let's go.
Well, after I moved out, he continually called me, texted me. He showed up at my house looking for things, my guitars to take, anything like that.
What was he coming to you for?
He was looking for money, Your Honor.
He was looking for the last month's
right.
bills.
And then...
why didn't you pay him?
November, he also...
Why didn't you pay him?
I didn't pay him because at the time he was selling something out of our house that we didn't approve of. So after finding all this out, I didn't want to pay him.
Okay, well, you know you have to pay him.
Right.
All right, I'm not at harassment yet, sir. So far, it's just annoying.
Well, he sent my girlfriend a recording of 2 people having sex. He was out to...
Okay, is your girlfriend here?
No, Your Honor, we actually broke up because of this.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $221. You counterclaim. Mr. and Mrs. Acosta, the defendant was a friend of yours. How did you meet her?
We met her at the bar my husband works at. She's a regular there. We have mutual friends.
And it is your claim that the defendant scammed you 3 times.
Correct.
Tell me when the first time was and how you think that she took your money under false pretenses.
Okay, so it started that she was at the bar. She talked to my husband, asked him if we have any children. She stated that she works at Disneyland, that she could get us discount tickets.
Yes, it is. Okay, go ahead.
So she stated she worked there, that she could also get us tickets at a discounted rate as well as a hotel. We did mention to her that it was my daughter's birthday coming up in January, so we wanted to take her.
Slower.
Sorry. So we wanted to take her, so we thought about it for a little bit.
When was this?
This was in November of 2019. So we talked about it, we discussed it. She, gained our trust. Again, we have mutual friends. It's not someone we just...
Don't go. Just give me the facts, ma'am.
So the facts, she told us it was the $300. Up front, we had to pay her $300 for her to reserve the hotel room. So that's when we went ahead and gave her $300 cash. So following the day of. And that was in December, the beginning of December. Exact date for you. I'm sorry.
Just a minute. So eventually you gave her, for this, $500.
Yes. No, so it was $300. The day of, we were supposed to give her the remaining $200, but that never happened. We were never taken to Disneyland. It was canceled. We did not go to Disneyland.
Well, who canceled it?
We did, because initially, the first date that she was giving us to go, she had an excuse where we didn't go. So for the first date she gave us, it was an excuse that the park was busy. She started talking about this coronavirus that's going on. So
you're missing me, and you're talking too fast. So you gave her the $300.
Correct.
She was going to be there because she works there.
Correct.
She canceled that date, or you canceled that date?
The initial date.
The first date?
Yes.
Who canceled it?
She did.
And what date was that?
So she gave us a reservation for it to be the 8th and the 9th of January for us to go to Disneyland.
All right, so she gave you the dates. These are the dates you can go.
Correct.
And you gave her $300.
We gave her $300, yes.
And you were about to go. On what date did she tell you that it was canceled?
So she took the initiative because my husband...
No, look at me and talk slower.
I'm sorry. So she had took the initiative to cancel it because my husband got sick.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if your husband got sick, then he couldn't go.
Yeah, but she took the initiative to cancel. She said I had already canceled. So she was rescheduling for us to go again.
You may be right.
Yes.
But don't avoid answering truthfully.
No, ma'am.
He was sick.
Correct.
So you stop playing with your paper. He was sick so that you couldn't go on the 8th and 9th of January. Were you sick?
Yeah.
What was wrong with you?
I had the flu. But I want to go because I want to take my kids.
We were
and then
still
she
going.
canceled it.
What? You had the flu and you were going to go?
So that's my daughter's
well,
birthday.
That's pretty selfish of you.
No,
and stupid.
It's my daughter's birthday. I want to take my daughter.
That was pretty selfish and stupid. Disneyland with a whole bunch of other people to give a whole bunch of other people the flu. You canceled the 8th and 9th. Did you reschedule?
We had rescheduled, but she never gave us a date. She was going to check the availability.
And what happened?
That's when, after Disneyland, she tells us that she was coming into a settlement for 20...
Did you cancel the 8th on the 8th or the 7th?
No, ma'am.
When did you cancel it?
We didn't cancel. She canceled.
No, you canceled. You may say she canceled. Your husband had the flu. He couldn't go to Disneyland. On what date did you let her know that you had the flu? Sir, on
she
what
came to the house that day when I was sick.
What day?
I don't remember exactly go to Disneyland. And then we were supposed to reschedule the date to go again. And that's when she came with she got a settlement for $25 million. And that's when she told me I needed more money to pay my rent, if I know anybody.
Now tell me about the next alleged scam.
Yes. So following that, we became a friendship with her. We've gone out to multiple times. She had mentioned that she was going to get kicked out of her apartment, that she did not have funds due to her getting a settlement, that she was wrongfully diagnosed by a doctor, causing her to get multiple treatments, and they were rewarding her with $25 million. She said due to the IRS auditing her, her assets were frozen, so she had no money. Us as parents, we did feel bad for her because we even met her to pay for her rent.
She's working at Disney.
Apparently, she had said that all her assets were frozen, so she wouldn't have access to her money. So since she was getting direct deposit, she did not have access to get any money from the bank. So that's when she inquired that if we know anybody who could lend her $1,500 and she would reimburse them double that, doubling the $1,500. We went to bed. Again, I felt bad. I am a mother of 3. And we spoke and said, let's lend her the money.
On what date did you do that?
We lent her the money in November as well, the end of November. She was paying her rent for December of $1,500.
Let's leave the hotel room aside for the moment. Okay. Did the plaintiffs give you $1,500?
They did.
For what?
To help me with my rent. It was never conversations with Jose. And he said that he's been in tough situations, that he had spoke to his wife, that he would help me out.
Good. Did you pay him back?
No.
You owe him $1,500 so far. You still work at Disney?
I do.
Your bank's still frozen?
No. But with the Disney, can I say my side of the story? I suggested when he became sick with the flu not to go to Disneyland because he would not enjoy himself, because he would be grouchy. And so I offered him another date to go, which was in a text message, January 29th through the 31st. So I offered them another date to go, and they accepted that date. And then they turned around and canceled thereafter that she wasn't getting a mobility check and she was not going to be able to go. These were non-refundable tickets.
Can I see that text, please? Notice how I sort of glossed over this $300 for Disney, because if you cancel a day before, usually, if you put down a deposit, they take your full deposit.
Right, but he was sick and I...
Would you show this to them? So she offered you an alternative date?
Yes. And due to me not getting my check from EDD, I never agreed. If you see, there's never a text me saying, yes, we'll take that date.
I don't care. You canceled the first time. She managed to get you a second time. Let's go. $100 for her rent. What's next?
After that, when she had said that she came into a settlement, she had mentioned to us that she had an abusive boyfriend that became her ex-boyfriend. She had mentioned that she bought him a Tesla. And during the time that she had told us that she had a settlement of $25 million, she wanted to buy a bar. She wanted to buy a bar and she wanted to go in business with us. And moving forward, prior to the bar, she had told us that she had came into the $25 million settlement.
You already said that 5 times.
I'm sorry. It's just a whole lot that happened. There's so much in between.
So far, she owes you $1,500.
$1,500, correct. After Disneyland, when she had told us about the $25 million, we had asked her to let my husband for a home. We were in the middle of trying to purchase a home. She said, no, why don't I just buy it for you guys? Buy it, and you guys pay me, since she's getting that settlement.
So now your husband is asking her for $20,000.
Yes, this is when we still thought Disneyland was real. Yeah.
But now your husband is asking her, who he's just lent $1,500 to, for $20,000 from her settlement, because now you see, for a house.
For a home, correct.
And she said...
She said, that's when she had stated, that she'll purchase it and we would pay her back. That she could purchase it cash and we would pay her back. We got in contact with our realtor, and that's when we went house shopping. We went looking at homes for us. We went looking for homes. We actually opened escrow on a home. I have the purchase agreement here as well as a cancellation.
Keep going.
We went into escrow with the home. That's when we started asking her for all her bank statements. You need W-2, all the proof that you need to show that where the money's coming from. She had excuses left and right that her attorney...
Did you give her any money for this home?
No, ma'am.
So what do I have to know about it for?
Following that, so it's because it's one of the incidents with her. That's where we were back and forth with her with the whole home. I have proof of that as far as...
Just a second. You didn't give her any money.
No, I didn't give her any money for that.
So let's move on.
Okay, so then that's where it comes to the car. Where you see the $500 garage fee, she has stated that she had bought her and asked us, since we were going to be business partners, if we wanted the vehicle for $500.
A new Tesla?
A new Tesla, that she had already gave a down payment, and that all we had to pay was a $500 garage fee. Yes. I know.
Oh,
she sent us photos. She sent us invoices. She sent us everything that made it seem real. We went to the Tesla dealer. We test drive the car. I mean, we went with our whole family. We're a family of 5 with the 3 little ones.
What kind of ridiculousness do you think that you can buy a $100,000 car for $500?
So she sent us an invoice that said the vehicle was going to be $64,000, that she had already gave a down payment of, and cheated on her with her cousin.
I don't care.
She didn't want to give it to him, so that's why she wasn't giving it to him. Now she was willing to give it to us for a $500 garage fee due to, since her assets were frozen.
Just a second. $500 garage fee, and who was supposed to pay out the $64,000?
She had already given a down payment on the car.
How much?
She had said she had given $3,500.
Who was supposed to pay the rest?
She was.
So far, she owes you $1,500.
I have.
That's all. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I can't even take you seriously. Show me proof that you gave her $1,500. Here you go. Okay.
Ma'am, can I show you what I have for the Tesla? She did send us information for it.
No. I'm going to tell you why. Because you have to know that either you're getting conned or somebody is stealing something when you're going to get a $60,000 car for $500. It's like going up to somebody and say, you want to buy my Rolex? I need money right now. I have to go buy a bowl of soup and a bagel. So I'm going to sell you my Rolex, which is a $25,000 watch, for $50. And then you say, oh, yeah. That Rolex probably stolen. But if I could buy, I think that the courts are going to help you.
I understand that we were fools for believing her.
Well, then, no, you were more than fools.
But
No, you were more than fools.
She came around our kids.
You were more than fools. You thought you were getting something for nothing. See, the rent is a whole different thing. She said she needed rent. Bank accounts were frozen, whatever it is. She may have felt that she had a couple of suckers. But you knew that you were giving her money, and that money was going... in your head was going to her rent. You said, I'm a mother of 3. I realized that. She has a son. But with regard to the car, you thought you were getting something for nothing because somebody was going to get scammed. You weren't signing your name as owner.
She said that she was putting it under our name.
Let's say I believe you that she said, I put down $3,500. Well, that's still $61,000. Who was supposed to pay the $61,000?
She said she was.
Yeah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. We're done. Thank you very much. So let me understand this, Ms. Patterson. You owned a house.
Yes.
Was there one house on the property or 2?
There was a mobile home and then a tiny house.
And were you living in the house?
No, I didn't live there.
You didn't live there. You rented to people?
Yes.
At some point, the property went into foreclosure.
Yes.
Had you owned the property for a long time?
A year.
Did you inherit the property or did you buy it?
I acquired it.
From whom?
A former friend and neighbor who no longer had any funds.
How much did you pay for it?
I didn't. She quitclaimed it to me.
Just a second. So you didn't pay for this property that had a house and a trailer on it?
Correct.
However, that property had taxes on it that you didn't pay?
Correct.
So your friend gave you the property for nothing. You didn't pay the taxes on it, and you rented, let me get this clear, because now it's becoming clear to me, you rented the house and or the trailer, one of them, to the defendant.
She actually rented a room in the house.
How many people did you have renting in the house?
5.
So now let's understand this. So you got this property for nothing, you didn't pay the taxes on it, and who lived in the house, they paid you rent.
Yes.
At some point, all the electricity was cut off in the house and the trailer. So the whole place was being run by generator, but you lived someplace else.
Correct.
Now, where you lived, did you have lights?
Yes.
Air conditioning?
No.
Heat?
No.
Do you live in a cabin?
No.
What kind of place do you live in?
I lived in a home, a regular house, but the air conditioning and heating had broke, so I didn't have it for 3 years.
Well, sounds like a whole lot of problems to me. In any event, what you say is that she became a squatter and didn't pay you rent.
Correct.
In a house that had been foreclosed that you weren't paying on.
I didn't know it was foreclosed in the beginning.
Who cares? I don't care. You weren't paying a penny.
I was paying another company to keep it out of foreclosure so their rent could go towards getting it out of foreclosure.
Paying another company to keep it out of foreclosure.
I only have The name of the company?
I don't care.
Because it was in storage that she sold.
Name of the company doesn't help me. So far, we're in a totally unsympathetic position. It's not as if you rented to the defendant in a house that you were maintaining, that you paid for, and that you were paying the taxes on, and she was living there squatting on this property and didn't pay you rent from August until May, even though it was run on a generator.
But that's not correct. I'm sorry, it's not correct. She had all the other utilities.
You said to me, somebody gave you the house last year. Didn't you tell me the house?
I'm sorry, it was 2 years ago. If I said one, I'm sorry.
Well, you're an adult woman. You live in a house. Then you know on a house, on property, there are taxes that have to be paid. So it's not 1 year you didn't pay the taxes. You didn't pay the taxes for 2 years.
No, I didn't. I didn't pay the taxes.
Then you were a squatter on that property, too.
No, Your Honor. I still paid all the other bills. I paid $750 every month to keep it out of foreclosure for 2 years.
Just a second. Show me.
My receipt was in storage, which is another part of the case.
Just a second. It's not another part of the case, madam. Let me tell you this. There is zero sympathy, because if you were paying $750 a month to keep the house out of foreclosure, if the bills were in storage that you say she took and destroyed or she got rid of, then all you have to do is call up the company and say, I lost all my bills. Can you send me a copy? Where did you think you were coming today? To the beach? Okay. If you paid $750 a month to a company and you didn't have the bills, that company will give you the $750 receipts as copies. If it's only over 2 years, we're not talking.
Found the paperwork that shows the name of the company.
Oh, fine. Then you want to come back here when you have all the paperwork? I'll be more than happy to let you go outside. Now you have the name of the company. Call them up. Fax it here. You can come back tomorrow. You want to do that? No. Yes or no?
No.
Of course not. Okay. Now, you have equally as ridiculous a lawsuit. You know, you say that you used your generator to fire up the house and to keep the basic necessities going, and because it was used so often, your generator, that it blew. That's your counterclaim?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Gokin versus McCullough. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Gokin, you and Mr. McCullough have one child together, and you have one on the way. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When is your baby due?
September.
How old is your other child?
15 months.
This is what you're suing him for. First, you claim that you paid off a car for him.
Yes, ma'am.
That was a loan. You want him to pay you back that money. Second, that you signed a joint lease. He let you go on the lease, and you want him to pay at least his half of the lease.
Yes, ma'am.
Until the termination of the lease. Mr. McCullough says that he paid off that car loan with his own money, and with regard to the apartment, you kicked him out of the apartment, so he had no choice but to leave. Is that your defense?
That is my defense, Your Honor.
So let me start with you, Mr. McCullough. When did you sign the lease for the apartment?
Signed the lease in May of 2009.
At that time, had your car loan been paid off?
I didn't have a car loan at that time.
When did you take out a car loan?
I took out a car loan, I believe, the next month in June.
And is that the one that was ultimately paid off?
Yes.
When?
In, I believe, September.
Under what circumstances was the car loan paid off?
It was paid off with money from my tax return.
How come you got tax return money in September?
Because there was an error on it, and I was refunded more money.
How much?
At that time, about $1,000.
And how much was the car loan?
The car loan was $600.
Now, you deposit that $1,000 check into the bank.
I don't have a bank account, Your Honor.
So what did you do with the $1,000 check from the government?
I cashed it.
Where?
At a Walmart.
Did you save the copy, the stub?
I didn't, Your Honor.
Why?
I'm not good at keeping receipts and stuff.
All right, let's deal with the car loan.
Yes, ma'am. Ben's tax money, the return that he's speaking about was for my son. That's not our son. And I actually had used our car. It was our car. Car insurance was on my account.
Could we please get to the car loan?
Yes, ma'am.
It was paid off in September.
Yes, ma'am. And I paid it off. I have the receipt from the title loan company and the title itself because they handed it to me.
I would like
Your
to
Honor.
see it. Well, tell me how it came about that you paid for it.
I was driving our car and found mail stuffed under his seat and found out that it was up for repossession. And called him, and I was like, why do we have a title loan on our car that we just got paid off? And he was like, well, I had to get a title loan so I could play Warcraft, and we didn't have...
I didn't understand what you just said.
He has a Warcraft account. He plays video games online, and he got a tax. He doesn't have a job.
Your Honor, I was receiving unemployment at the time, so I had income. The title loan was to pay bills.
The title loan was to pay bills for whom?
We were living together at the time.
Well, you moved in together in May. This was in June.
We'd lived together previously. We just moved into that house.
I see.
And, Your Honor, as far as how she came to acquire the title, it was not given to her by the title loan company. When I was kicked out of the house the first of this year, I was only able to take, an armful of clothing. I wasn't able to gather all my possessions. It was left in the house. And as far as it being our car or a joint car, The car is titled.
What for them to give me a receipt? In the state of Idaho, when you have a title, all you need is the title as proof of paid off or payment. I could take that title to the DMV.
Just a second. Is this allegedly from a loan company?
That's what I asked for it.
No, just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this allegedly from a loan company?
I asked for that, yes, ma'am, when I paid off the car.
Is this allegedly from a loan company? On this piece of white paper?
That's what I asked for.
In whose name is the car titled?
It's under my name.
Insurance is in my account.
Well, I would
because it's a joint car.
It's not a joint car.
Policy.
It's not a joint car. It's his car. It's titled in his name.
Not now. I have a bill of sale, too, that he gave me that's at the house.
Who has the car?
I do. And I have the keys.
Good for you. Now, you want to tell me the circumstances surrounding his leaving the house on January 1st?
He didn't leave on January 1st. He left on January 7th after I found out that he was having an affair.
January 7th. Well, tell me about it.
We have a phone. I have phones.
I don't care. You found out he was having an affair, and
we got in an argument, and we got in a physical altercation. We worked things out that night. The next morning, his mother shows up with the police. He left. He then came back while I was at work, gathered all of his things and some of my things. I have a kid. I'm pregnant. You know, you need to, figure this out if you're going to be with her or not. He's been back and forth.
Your Honor, she told me to get out.
No, I didn't.
No, just a second. Are you telling me that you had a physical altercation with him on January 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you don't want him to come back to live there, do you?
I do, because we have a kid, but I don't want to be together.
Well, then he can't live with you. So one of you is going to live in this house, you or him.
He can have it. He has all these animals he needs to take care of, and the house comes with 7 acres. I'll move. I've told him I would move.
Good. When is your lease up?
The end of this month.
You want to sign a new lease for this house?
No, Your Honor.
That's not up to me anyway. When he left...
I also moved out.
Oh, good. So what do you want? What do you want?
I had to come back because we couldn't get out of our lease.
And?
So I need him to pay for half the bills like he agreed to.
That's not going to happen. When you left the house, where did you go?
I went and got a studio apartment.
And?
And I was called by Canyon County Sheriff's because the animals weren't being taken care of. So I came back and I said, are you going to stay here? Because that's what you said. And he was like, well, I got to find a job, and all the jobs are in Boise.
When you say the animals weren't being taken care of, you talking about rescue animals that you take care of?
Some of them are rescues and some of them were his, yes.
So that when you left, you just left the animals there?
He was there when I left the house.
On what date?
It was in February. I don't remember the exact date. In January. He left January 7th.
All right. He left January 7th.
And was back and forth, like I said, because of our child.
And then you left in February?
Yes, because he said he needed the house because of the animals.
Just a second. You left in February. How long were you gone in February?
For a month. Paid rent on both places.
Where are you living now?
I'm living with family.
Are you working?
Yes.
Who are you working for?
I'm self-employed.
Doing what?
I'm a private investigator.
Do you pay child support?
I don't, Your Honor.
Why?
Because, it hasn't come to that yet. I don't know.
What do you mean it hasn't come to that? Don't you think that your son needs to eat?
I do, Your Honor.
Well...
She's never requested it.
She doesn't have to request it. Nobody has to tell you to put your underwear on in the morning, do they? I don't have to request it. Nobody requests it. You know that you have a child and you've got to pay child support. Nobody has to ask you.
Your Honor, I've contributed. There's just no formal child support order in place.
Well, that's what I want to know. How much have you contributed? I didn't ask you whether there was a formal order, Mr. McCullough. What I asked you was, how much do you pay in child support? Tell me the last time you gave the plaintiff money for your son. Look at me.
I have never given her money. I've bought him things that he needs.
All right, Mr. McCullough. Last night was a Monday. Do you remember last night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you have dinner?
At a steak restaurant.
At a steak restaurant. Sounds nice. Did you also have breakfast yesterday?
Yes.
See what I mean? And you get 2 meals a day.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, when you say you're living with family, what family are you living with?
My parents.
Do you pay rent?
Not at this point.
How much are you earning as a private investigator being self-employed?
Very little.
Like what?
Probably a few $100s a month.
Well, that's not a job then, sir. My 11-year-old grandchild can make that selling cans of Coke. So let's get serious. Where are you looking for work?
Everywhere that I can.
So you're not working and staying home most of the time?
Yes, you could say that.
Yeah. And explain to me these video games that you play.
I play anything to explain. Everybody has hobbies.
Hobbies are usually done after work.
True, Your Honor.
You don't work.
The job market in Idaho is very bad right now.
They can't find you playing video games. When was the last time you held a job?
I was laid off about a year ago.
That's not true, Your Honor. It was almost 2 years ago.
Well, listen, that
and he
doesn't
pays for his video
listen to me. That doesn't make you a genius to have another baby with him.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Well, I just want you to be aware that I'm aware that it doesn't make you a genius to have somebody who's unemployed that you've already made one child with and to be dumb enough to get pregnant with a second.
Oh, I know.
Okay, fine.
I'm aware of my mistakes.
You have proof that you took out...
I don't have a bank account. I have my receipts that shows I pay everything for cash. I have receipts saying how I make my deposits.
Just show me that you paid off this.
That's what that paper is. That's what they gave me. I have another one for another car for my stepdad. I have power of attorney over my stepdad, and they gave me the same kind of paper.
Sorry, my dear. You have the car?
Yes, ma'am.
It's your car. You're going to move out of the house at the end of this month?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. And then you're going to take him to court for child support?
Yes, ma'am. The agreement was he was going to help me pay the bills, which is why I never filed for child support. That's why we're here, because he keeps saying he's going to and he hasn't.
I suggest that you file a petition against him in family court for child support. How much do
your taxes? About $1,100.
A what?
A month.
Anybody else help you?
No, ma'am.
You have family?
No, ma'am. I grew up in foster care.
Get a job.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have 2 children. Do you see your son?
Yes, Your Honor.
How often?
A few times a week.
Support him. If you're living with your parents and you're earning $200 a month, that ought to go to support him. They're not charging you. Eat home. That's all. And your claim is that you made a loan to for a car?
Yes.
Ms. Velasquez says you never gave her any money. You knew each other through your boyfriends? Is that what it will? Explain that to me.
We were dating brothers.
And how long ago did you meet her?
I met her back in August of 2009.
When did you make this alleged loan?
In November of 2009.
Tell me about it.
Well, I had totaled my car in October, and I knew in November I'd be getting a settlement check for it. She approached me in the beginning of November and asked me if I would loan her the money when the check had cleared, and I knew at the time that when it cleared, I would be incarcerated.
What were you going to be incarcerated for?
I got an under the influence.
For driving while under the...
No, it was just an under the influence.
What does that mean?
Pretty much I was under the influence of a
public intoxication.
Yeah, it's like that.
She was on drugs and with her kid.
Go ahead.
She came to me and asked, and I told her that I'd loan it to her, and I talked to Julie about it, and she said that she would get the money out of the bank when it hit, because I'd be incarcerated, and she'd give it to her to have a joint account.
Who is this lady?
She is my boyfriend's mom.
And how long have you had a joint account with her?
Since October.
October of what?
2009.
Why did you set up a joint account with her?
Because we knew that I'd be incarcerated, and I wasn't sure if I need money on my books or not.
How long were you in jail?
For about a month.
What's wrong with your boyfriend?
He was in prison at the time.
Go ahead.
And she asked if I would loan it to her, and I said I would. And so Julie took her the money, and she said in February of 2009, when she got her tax returns, she would start paying the money back.
How much was the settlement check for your car?
I believe it was for around $11,000 or $12,000.
And the check was made out to you?
Yes.
Did you endorse the check?
What do you mean did?
Do you have a copy of it?
No, I don't.
Do you have your bank statement where it was deposited?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. What did you take out $6,000 for?
I took $4,000 out to buy my car and the $2,000 that was loaned to her.
You were in jail and you bought a car?
I had looked at the car before I was incarcerated, and she went, and it's in her name, and she had bought the car for me.
So you took out $6,000?
Yes.
You spent $4,000 in cash?
Yes.
Do you have on or about the 24th of November?
I don't have that with me, Your Honor.
Did she lend you any money?
No, I have all my proof.
Let me see it.
Okay. It's I borrowed the $1,000 from my dad, which is on a AAA credit card. And I have how much my van actually was from You Pick and Save. It's a junkyard. And I wrecked my Honda Civic and sold it for $500, which also went towards it.
So this receipt is for the new car that you purchased for $1,500.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And you took out some money from various accounts?
I borrowed $1,000 from my dad and used the $500 towards my Honda Civic because I sold my Honda and I saved it until I can find a new car.
Mm-hmm. And that all happened on the same date that the plaintiff took out $6,000 from her account.
She was locked up and I didn't have.
No. I'm just asking you a question. That all happened on the same date, November 24th, because according to this, you purchased your car on November 24th.
Yeah.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Julie Sanders.
Tell me about this alleged transfer of money.
Okay, on the 24th, we had talked about loaning her the money to buy a vehicle. She needed a bigger van for her kids, and her car wouldn't pass smog, and da-da-da-da-da. So anyway, we talked about it, and she said, yes, that would be fine if I loaned her the money while she was incarcerated. And I said, okay. So I went to the bank with my husband. I withdrew $6,000. It was $4,000 for her car, that a 2003 or 4 Sebring, I can't remember the year exactly, and this banking yard. And so I withdrew the money and everything. We took it down to the wrecking yard, gave it to Alicia.
She was already at the yard?
Yes, they were already at the salvage yard.
The defendant and who else?
My son and Alicia.
They were dating at the time?
Yes, they still are. Yes.
What kind of relationship do you have with her son?
Me and her are best friends, but
No, her son. You have 2 children, and she's the grandmother of those 2 children.
Yeah.
Okay, you get along with her?
Yeah.
Why would she lie to me
Right
about
now,
this?
we haven't been talking for 2 weeks because of this whole Jessica thing. She chooses Jessica Dean over her 2 cents.
Why do you think she would do that?
Because she cheated. She's 8 weeks pregnant right now.
About the plaintiff? I'm asking about your boyfriend's mother.
That's why I'm not talking to Julie right now. Because she's choosing Jessica over her 2 kids.
She's not choosing Jessica over her 2 kids. Why would she lie about it? What motivation would she have to lie when you had a reasonable relationship with her, according to you, until 2 weeks ago?
Me and her's always on and off. Julie, she's on a whole bunch of medication. She'll forget things. Her sons would say that, but I couldn't bring one with me because it's his mother.
Why? Why couldn't you bring your boyfriend?
Because she's actually his payee, so he says he wanted to go against his mother no matter what she says.
She's his payee? What does that mean?
He's on SSI, Social Security.
I believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff.
I need a weapon.
Let's go.
Team has scored for the first time.
about to win.
The blue team is about to win.